Let's go. All right, GameStop announced their annual meeting of stockholders. They're doing like some votes and stuff. I guess I'm not a stockholder because I didn't get the email. But I guess if you hold your shares in like Charles Schwab or something, it's in the street name or whatever. So I guess you do, if you really want to have your name on like GameStop shares, you do have to use something like computer share or whatever. But I don't have that. So whatever. Don't really care either. Anyway, to be honest, I don't know how much it really matters. But yeah, so we got this here. 2025 proxy statement, notice of 2025 annual meeting of stockholders to be held on June 12th, 2025. Notice of annual meeting of stockholders. We invite you to attend our 2025 annual meeting Thursday, June 12th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I don't know what time that is for me. It will be held in virtual only format. You'll not be able to attend this meeting in person. At the annual meeting, you'll be asked to elect 5 directors, each to serve as a member of the board of directors until the next annual meeting of stockholders, and until director's successor is elected and qualified. Number 2, provide an advisory, non-binding vote on the compensation of our named executive officers. 3, ratify our audit committee's appointment of KPMG LLP as our independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending January 31st, 2026. And number 4, transact such other business, if any, as may properly come before the annual meeting and at any postponement or adjournment of the annual meeting. Only stockholders of record and beneficial owners holding our shares at the close of business on April 21st, 2025 are entitled to vote at the annual meeting and at any postponement or adjournment thereof. Please see pages 1 to 5 for any additional info regarding attendance at the meeting and how to vote your shares. This proxy statement provides information that you should consider when you vote your shares. Your vote is important, even if you plan to attend the annual meeting virtually. We request that you vote your shares as soon as possible by following the voting instructions contained in this proxy statement. We have designed the format of the annual meeting to ensure that stockholders are afforded the same rights and opportunities to participate as they would in an in-person meeting, using online tools to ensure stockholders' access and participation. Okay. What's up, Aloha Tundra? Never seen that name in here before. Spy's doing really good for options. The Spy's flat, so I don't know. Oh, the Spy's up now. Well, that's nice. That's kind of how options work. You bet that the stock's going to go up, and it works out. You bet that the stock's going to go down, and it goes down, and it works out. That's how options work. You can trade options on any stock, not just the Spy. What's up, Matt Romano? Tundra was here quick. I don't even know who that is. I've never even seen that name. GME's following Bitcoin? Definitely not. If GME was following Bitcoin, we'd be up like 28, 29. GME's kind of doing its own thing. Sup, Jared? Small fry. Small fry, that's how... that's how you come in here? Small fry's like, I don't need words. Boop. Thank you. God bless you, Small Fry. God bless you, bro. God bless you. He's like, good morning. We don't speak with words here. We just throw dollar bills. This isn't a strip club, Small Fry. You don't just come in here and start throwing dollar bills around. At least buy me dinner first. I'm just kidding. At least buy me dinner first, Small Fry. All right. We'll send a full set of proxy materials or a notice of internal availability of proxy materials on or about April 30th, 2025, and provide access to our proxy materials over the internet beginning on April 24th, 2025, for the holders of record and beneficial owners of our shares of common stock as of close of the business day on the record date. The notice of internet availability instructs you on how to access and review this proxy statement and our 2024 report to stockholders. The notice of internet availability also instructs you on how you may authorize a proxy to vote your shares over the internet and provides instruction on how you can request a paper copy of these documents if you desire. and how you can enroll in e-delivery. If you received your annual meeting materials via email, the email contains voting instructions and links to our annual report and proxy statements on the internet. This is just talking about forward-looking statements. That's in like every fucking filing type thing. Proxy statement summary. To assist you in reviewing the proposals to be considered and voted upon at our 2025 annual meeting of stockholders, we have summarized information contained elsewhere in this proxy or in our annual report on Form 10-K for the fiscal year ended February 1st, 2025. Please note that our fiscal year is composed of a 52 or 53 week ending on the Saturday closest to the last day of January. Fiscal year 2024 consisted of the 52 weeks ended on February 1st, 2025, fiscal 24. Fiscal year 23 consisted of the 53 weeks ended on the February 3rd, 2024, fiscal 23. Okay, that's just whatever. I don't think that's that important. That's the link to get to the thing. The interesting thing is if you do this link, it takes you to Computershare. And that's the second time they've done like an event thing on Computershare. So I'm kind of starting to think that maybe DRSing your shares is actually a thing, but like I just don't even want to do it. I've never used Computershare. Like I've been using, TD Ameritrade for years now, so it just seems kind of weird to switch over. I feel like I could just call TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab and be like, "Yo, I want my name on my shares. What is this shit?" I probably can. I'll look it up. Well, later. Or I'll call them later and see. Not today, but because it is a little weird that I'm not. Because I haven't even sold shares in a while, at least on that one account. What do you vote for? Board of directors and some other things. I don't know off the top of my head. Election of directors, advisory vote on executive compensation, ratification of appointment of independent registering accounting firm. So, information about the annual meeting and voting. What am I voting for? The board of directors of GameStop is soliciting your vote for the following: to elect 5 nominees identified in this proxy statement to serve as directors, to approve on an advisory non-binding basis our executive compensation, and 3, to ratify our audit committee's appointment of KPMG LLP as our independent registered public accounting firm for our fiscal year ending January 31st, 2026. So you get to pick the directards. I mean, it's kind of already picked for you. Who is entitled to vote? Holders of record and beneficial owners of our shares of common stock as the close of business on April 21st, 2025 are entitled to notice of and to vote at the annual meeting. Shares of common stock can be voted only if the stockholder is present or is represented by a proxy at an annual meeting. As of the record, 447,300,514 shares of our common stock were issued, outstanding, and entitled to vote. How do I vote? Stockholders of record. If you're a stockholder of record, there are several ways for you to vote your shares of common stock at the annual meeting. Voting by internet. You may vote your shares electronically at the annual meeting by following the instructions on the virtual annual meeting website. Before the annual meeting, you may vote your shares through the internet by following the directions on the proxy card. Internet voting is available 24 hours a day, and the procedures are designed to authenticate votes cast by using a personal identification number located on the proxy card. The procedures allow you to appoint a proxy to vote your shares and to confirm that your instructions have been properly recorded. Okay, you can vote by telephone, you can vote by mail. I'm not reading those. Vote by proxy. If you choose to vote by proxy, you may do so using the internet, telephone, or if you received a printed copy of your proxy materials. Even if you plan to attend the annual meeting virtually, we recommend that you submit your proxy card by mail or voting instructions via the internet or telephone by the applicable deadline so that your vote will be counted. If you later decide not to attend the meeting, Beneficial owners. If you're this is the part that makes me think like maybe you do need to computer share, or at least like call your broker and get the shares in your name as long as you're not trading. But if you're a stockholder whose shares are held in street name in the name of a broker or other custodian, you may vote the shares electronically at the annual meeting only if you obtain a legal proxy from the broker or the other custodian, giving you the right to vote the shares. Please see the registration options set forth below under registering in advance of the annual meeting and registering at the annual meeting, and following instructions to upload and submit your legal proxy. Alternatively, you may have your shares voted at the annual meeting by following the voting instructions provided to you by your broker or custodian. Although most brokers offer voting via the internet, by telephone, and mail, availability and specific procedures will depend on their voting arrangements. How can I vote online at the annual meeting? Stockholders of record. If you're a stockholder of record, you may vote at the annual meeting by following the instructions on notice, email, proxy card that you received. Beneficial, blah, blah, blah. I would want new directors to. It seems that they missed the dip on Bitcoin. You don't know that. You literally don't know that. I don't know why you would even type that. You're just saying things. What's up, Moose? How may you revoke or change your vote? You may revoke your proxy at any time before it is voted at the annual meeting by any of the following methods. Submitting a later dated proxy via the internet. Okay, we don't need to read that. How can I attend the annual meeting? We already know that. Register. What is a quorum? A quorum of common stockholders is required to hold a valid annual meeting of stockholders. Unless a quorum is present at the annual meeting, no action may be taken at the annual meeting except the adjournment thereof to a later time. Holders of a majority of the outstanding shares of our common stock entitled to vote at the meeting must be present or represented by proxy to constitute a quorum. All valid proxies returned will be included in the determination of whether a quorum... I don't know. Okay. Is happily announced after the purchase. That doesn't matter. What does that have to do with anything? GameStop's not like any other company. Ryan Cohen's not like any other CEO. Don't you worry, Mr. Juan. Just don't talk about things that you don't know. That's all I can say. You don't know if they bought or not. Nobody does. They haven't announced it. So don't say that they missed it because you don't know. When we find out, then you can talk about it. But just assuming things, that's why nobody's buying this stock, is because they just assume things. They don't actually research and have patience. Okay, I really don't want to read this whole thing. So I'm going to find the one thing that I thought was interesting in here. I'm going to skim through the rest of it. There's a lot. Where is it? Ah, yes. This is the one thing I thought was interesting here. Number 20. Can I participate and ask questions during the virtual annual meeting? Yes. Beginning at least 30 minutes prior to and during the annual meeting, you'll be able to access the rules of conduct applicable to the annual meeting. We will hold a Q&A session during the annual meeting, during which we intend to answer questions that are pertinent to the items being brought before the stockholder vote at the annual meeting. As time permits and in accordance with the rules of conduct for the annual... Okay, so they're just going to do a Q&A about this. I don't think it's going to be about anything outside of this thing, the stockholder meeting. So you'll probably get more questions answered after that. Or, yeah, for like this. Like what you're exactly voting on and all that. I really doubt they're going to answer questions about the company. It's probably going to be all about this. What's up, Tricky One? Hope you're doing good. Perhaps we should check the blockchain. I mean, you wouldn't be able to really know what their wallet is. You'd have to know their wallet number, which I don't think you would know. I don't know it. I don't think anyone knows it. So you could check the blockchain, but it doesn't really help you if you don't know the wallet. Okay. Proposal 1, election of directors. Director nomination process. The board has nominated each of the 5 individuals identified below under the director nominees to stand for election at the annual meeting. Each of the nominees is currently a director of the company. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee of the board determined to not nominate Miss Yang Zhu for re-election in order to permit Miss Zhu to focus on her other business ventures. I thought she was new. Such determination was not a result of any disagreement with the company on any matter relating to the company's operations, policies, or practices. The company thanks Ms. Zhu for her dedicated service on the board since 2021. Okay, never mind. Each director elected at the annual meeting will hold office for a term expiring at the 2026 annual meeting of stockholders, and until his or her successor has been elected and qualified, or until his or her early death, resignation, or removal. Each of the nominees identified in this proxy statement has consented to being named as a nominee in our proxy materials and has accepted the nomination and agreed to serve as a director if elected by the stockholders. We have no reason to believe that any of the nominees will be unavailable to serve as a director. However, should any nominee be unable to serve if elected, the board may reduce the number of directors or recommend a substitute nominee. The shares represented by all valid proxies may be voted for the election of a substitute if one is nominated by the board. The director nominees, Ryan Cohen, Alan Attell, Larry Chang, Jim Grube, and Nat Turner. Yeah, Ryan Cohen's pretty young, 39. That's crazy. 6, 2025 proxy statement, director nominee qualifications and experience. We don't really need to go through that. Just talking about the things they've done, highlighting it. This part's kind of interesting. Biographies of director nominees. I've already read some of this, so I'm sorry if I'm just skipping through it, but there's not very much here, really. So biographies of direct nominees. Ryan Cohen has been a member of the board since January 2021. He was elected chairman of the board in June 2021 and appointed chief executive officer in September 2023. Mr. Cohen is also a sizable stockholder of the company. Mr. Cohen previously founded and served as the chief executive officer of Chewy, where he oversaw the company's growth and ascension to market leadership in the pet industry. Mr. Cohen led Chewy through its successful sale to PetSmart prior to stepping down in 2018. Director's qualifications. In addition to his ownership perspective, Mr. Cohen brings to the board his demonstrated leadership experience as a successful entrepreneur and investor, and his extensive experience in retail, technology, and consumer marketing verticals, having overseen merchandising, marketing, supply chain, e-commerce, and business development. Damn, Alan's 55 years old. Mr. Attell is an e-commerce executive and entrepreneur with more than 2 decades of experience building and managing businesses. From 2017 through 2018, Mr. Attell served as the chief marketing officer of Chewy Inc. and oversaw an annual acquisition budget of more than $300 million, which was allocated to broadcast, direct mail, and digital advertising and engagement initiatives. From 2011 through early 2017, he served as Chewy's chief operating officer and oversaw its expansion from 3 people to more than 10,000 employees and $3 billion in revenues. Director qualifications. Mr. Attell brings to the board more than 2 decades of experience building and managing businesses, having served in senior management positions overseeing marketing and operations. Larry Chang, 49. Larry Chang is co-founder and managing partner of Volition Capital, a leading growth equity investment firm based in Boston, Massachusetts, and the first investor in Chewy. He has more than 2 decades of venture capital and growth equity investing experience based on time at Volition Capital. Fidelity Ventures, Battery Ventures, and Bessemer Venture Partners. He presently leads the internet and consumer team at Volition Capital, focusing on disruptive companies in e-commerce, internet services, consumer brands, and digital media and gaming. He received his bachelor's degree from Harvard College when he concentrated in psychology, where he concentrated in psychology. Director qualifications. Mr. Chang brings to the board significant experience in capital allocation and deployment, finance, e-commerce, internet services, consumer brands, digital media, and gaming. Should have gone to GameStop today, prismatic drop. Oh, well, I didn't know. So, that doesn't really help. It's all good. I don't know if I would have won anyway, but what if the directards get no votes? Why do you keep calling them directards, Juan? You're not even like a stock market person. But that's not how it works. They're gonna get votes. Still time to go get the cards. Do you think if I called them? I'll call them. Let's see if they answer. Because I would love to get... I would ditch the stream for some prismatic. Yeah, they're all sold out. It's he said the dude said they do drops every Friday. It's not always prismatic, but they do drops every Friday. But yeah, I missed it. I missed it. Oh, I missed. Oh, I missed. Damn. That would have been good to know. He said there was a line for it. I asked him about the GameStop power packs too. And he said they have like a Magic of the Gathering mystery pack. I don't know if it's the same thing. I don't know if it's like a GameStop branded thing or what, but he was saying something about a Magic the Gathering mystery pack that's like similar to the GameStop power pack, but so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's the same thing, but with Magic of the Gathering, or he was talking about something else. I don't know. I don't know. I think the guys in suits do nothing, get paid too much. I mean, for most companies, yeah, but this isn't. You're talking about most companies. That's why I'm invested in GameStop, because my CEO doesn't even take a salary because he's a gangster. Mr. Cohen don't even take a fucking salary, bruh. So like I said, before you talk about things, understand what you're talking about. You're in a GameStop stream talking about CEOs being greedy. My CEO's not greedy. My CEO's chill. But I do agree, most other companies, the CEOs do get paid a lot and do very little. But like, that's all I can say is just you don't got to be so negative, Juan. If you don't have anything like positive to bring to the chat or anything to talk about, just don't even type in the chat. Like I don't care about your opinions about CEOs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't benefit anyone. So talk about something different. That's all I can say. Or just leave. I also don't care about that either. Guys in suits are the only reason we make money. True. All right, Mr. Juan. Very angry today? I mean, I'm not angry. This is a very normal thing in the chat. When someone comes in here and starts talking about negative things, they get clapped. So, welcome to the many people. Welcome to the list of many people who have gotten clapped for not listening. Oh yes, I'm so angry because I don't want you to type about dumb shit in my chat. That makes sense. I'm so angry. Look at me. Look how angry I am because I don't want you typing stupid shit in my chat that you know nothing about. Yep. I'm angry. I'm so angry about that. Yeah, you can come back tomorrow if you want, but I don't really care, bro. I really don't care. If you don't have any positive things to bring to the chat, then don't even come back. Like I literally don't give a shit. Like I make $2 a stream. You think I want your opinion here if I don't agree with it? I don't. You know, we're not even Cam finally typed something nice for once. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Cam actually, for once, it's been about 4 months. I'm pushing 5 months. And we got a positive message from Cam asking a legitimate question. That's crazy. That's crazy. Never in my day would I think I'd see that. Some stores barely do drops. Money about the next drop, for sure. The dude said they do them every Friday, so I guess I'll just expect that. That's how Target is, too. So maybe it's just that little area, because, like, GameStop's, like, right here, Target's right here, and Walmart's over here. So maybe just that area of, you know, stores, that's when they get their drops. For, you know, for me, at least. Because I remember going to Target, like, a month ago, and some girl said, like, right when they open on Fridays, and maybe even Thursdays, I think. I think she said Thursday or Friday. I think she said both, but definitely Friday was when they restocked at Target, so it would make sense. Rip Juan the migrant. I mean, just don't talk about things you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Like if you like literally, if you don't have anything positive to say in the chat, then don't type in the chat. Like I don't care about your negative opinion about CEOs or anything. Like if you have a negative opinion on something, keep it to yourself. Cuz nobody wants to hear it. Ow. Target right by me doesn't sell any Pokemon. All goes by store. Oh, really? That's weird. That's weird. What am I doing? Why am I on this website? Oh yeah, I was looking up that Magic the Gathering thing. I wonder Magic the Gathering mystery pack. Oh, this? I think this is what he was talking about. I don't think he was talking about like an actual GameStop thing. Yeah, I think he was talking about this mystery booster. Had to have been what he was talking about. All right, back to this. Jim Grube. Mr. Grube is a business and finance executive with more than 2 decades of corporate experience. He was most recently the chief financial officer of Rad Power Bikes, a global e-bike mobility company. He previously served as the chief financial officer of Vacasa from 2019 through 2020, a North American vacation rental management company, and as chief financial officer of Chewy from 2015 through 2018. He was formerly senior vice president of finance at Hilton from 2009 through 2015, and a director of finance at Amazon from 2007 through 2009. He has a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Purdue University and received his master's degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Mr. Grube, who also serves as an independent board member and the audit committee chair of UK-based Job and Talent, an independent board member of Miami-based Carewell, and a director and finance committee member of the Oregon-based nonprofit Friends of Columbia Gorge. In his chief financial officer and audit committee chair roles, Mr. Grube has overseen company cybersecurity readiness assessments, risk reviews, and control effectiveness. Mr. Grube brings to the board more than 2 decades of corporate experience, having served in senior management positions overseeing finance, accounting, treasury, tax, and procurement. Nat Turner, 39. Nathaniel Turner is a seasoned entrepreneur and business leader. Mr. Turner is currently the chairman and chief executive officer of Collectors Holdings, Inc., a holding company focused on collectibles industry. Prior to joining Collectors Holdings, Inc., Mr. Turner co-founded and was the chief executive officer of Flatiron Health, Inc., a technology company focused on the oncology industry. He also co-founded and led Invite Media, an advertising technology company. Mr. Turner is an active angel investor and has invested in many startups, both personally and through Operator Partners, LLC, a venture capital investment firm that invests in early-stage technology companies and founders. Mr. Turner earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in economics from the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. Mr. Turner brings to the board extensive leadership and entrepreneurial experience, having founded several companies and significant experience in retail, internet services, and e-commerce. What's up, One Trade? I don't know why you have to type a weird thing in the chat. You could just say what's up, but what's up? All right. The board unanimously recommends that stockholders vote for all of the board 5 nominees. Proxies solicited by this proxy statement will be voted for all 5 nominees unless a vote against a nominee or abstention is specifically indicated. Board of Directors, Board Oversight of Strategy. The board is deeply engaged and involved in overseeing our long-range strategy, including evaluating key market opportunities, consumer trends, and competitive developments, as well as capital allocation and deployment strategies. The board's oversight of risk is another integral component of the board's oversight and engagement on strategic matters. Strategy-related matters are regularly discussed at board meetings and as relevant at board committee meetings. Matters of strategy also inform committee-level discussions of many issues, including business risk and investment decisions. Engagement of the board on these issues and other matters of strategic importance continues in between board meetings, including through updates to the board on significant items. Each director is expected to and does bring to bear his or her own talents, insights, and experiences on these strategy discussions. Meetings and committees of the board. The board met 5 times during fiscal 2024. Each incumbent director who served on the board at any time during fiscal 24 attended 75% or more of the aggregate of the total number of meetings of the board and the total number of meetings of all committees thereof on which they served. The board has 3 standing committees: an audit committee, a compensation committee, and a nominating and corporate governance committee. The board also has formed an investment committee consisting of the company's chairman of the board and chief executive officer Ryan Cohen, and 2 other members of the board to manage the company's portfolio of securities and investments. More information regarding the investment committee and our investment policy is included in our 24 annual report on Form 10-K. The audit committee assists the board in fulfilling its oversight responsibility and reviews the adequacy and integrity of our financial statements, financial reporting process, and disclosure controls and procedures, and internal controls over financial reporting, appointment, termination, compensation, retention, and oversight of the independent registered public accountants. The scope of the audit performed by the independent registered public accounting firm of our books and records, the internal audit function and plan, our compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, and with management and the independent auditor, any related party transactions, and approves such transactions, if any. In addition, the audit committee has established procedures for the receipt, retention, and treatment of the confidential and anonymous complaints regarding our internal accounting controls, and auditing matters. The board has adopted a written charter setting out the functions of the audit committee, a copy of which is available on our website and is available to print, blah, blah, blah. Current members of the audit committee are Jim Grube, Alan Attell, and Yang Zhu. Each of whom is an independent director under the listing standards of the NYSE. The board has determined that Mr. Grube has the requisite attributes of an audit committee financial expert as defined by regulations promulgated by the SEC, and that such attributes were acquired through relevant education and or experience. In addition to meeting the independent standards of the NYSE, each member of the audit committee is financially literate and meets the independent standards established by the SEC. Audit committee met 4 times during fiscal 24. Compensation committee. The compensation committee is primarily responsible for establishing and reviewing the compensation of the chief executive officer and all other executive officers, establishing and approving the terms of employment for new executive officers and the terms associated with any executive officer's termination, making recommendations to the board with respect to incentive compensation and equity-based plans, which are subject to board approval, administering and exercising all authority granted to it under any incentive compensation plans, covering primarily executive officers or involving the compensatory issuance of company securities, whether currently existing or hereafter adopted by the board, and the annual report on executive compensation for inclusion in our proxy statement. Compensation Committee has the authority to engage executive compensation advisors, if desired, to assist the Compensation Committee in conducting its duties. Current members of the Compensation Committee are Alan Attell, Larry Chang, and Jim Grube. Each of whom meets the independent standards of the NYSE and the SEC. The board has adopted a written charter setting out the functions of the compensation committee. Copy is available on our website. Corporate governance, let's see. All right, nominating and corporate governance committee. They're responsible for reviewing and recommending to the board candidates for service on the board and its committees, including the nomination of existing directors, establishing, maintaining, and periodically assessing a process for the receipt and consideration of written recommendations for the board's candidates. Oh shit, hold up. All right. I am gonna have to, here in like 30 minutes or so, gonna have to throw on some Roaring Kitty and BRB. I'm Rick James, bitch. Enjoy yourself. Welcome, Rick James. I'm Rick James, bitch. Enjoy yourself. What's up, Kristen? Okay. God, we're only like halfway through this. Nominating Corporate Governance Committee is primarily responsible for reviewing and recommending to the board candidates for service on the board and its committees, including the nomination of existing directors, establishing, maintaining, and periodically assessing a process for the receipt and considerations of written recommendations for the board's candidates in accordance with applicable rules of the NYSE and any other applicable laws, rules, and regulations, periodically reviewing and making recommendations to the board regarding the size and compensations of the board and its committees, annually reviewing the independence of the directors, overseeing our orientation process for newly elected directors, and regularly assessing the adequacy of and the need for additional director continuing educations program, overseeing the annual performance evaluation of the board and its committees and management, periodically reviewing and recommending changes to our corporate governance guidelines. Current member of the nominating corporate governance committee are Alan Attell, Larry Chang, and Yang Zhu, each of whom meets the independent standards of the NYSE. The board has adopted a written charter setting, blah, 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 blah. Charlie Murphy! Bitch! Get over here and have sex with Charlie Murphy. The Nominating Corporate Governance Committee ensures that the board possesses the right mix of skills and experiences to provide effective guidance and oversight to management as it executes our short and long-term strategy. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee does not set specific minimum qualifications for directors, except to the extent required to meet applicable legal, regulatory, and stock exchange requirements, including but not limited to the independence requirements of the NYSE and the SEC, as applicable. Instead, we seek nominees for directors who possess business acumen, high integrity, an ownership mentality, and a deep, genuine interest in GameStop. The board also believes that each director should have a basic understanding of the principal operational and financial objectives and plans and strategies of the company. the results of operations and financial conditions of the company, and of any significant subsidiaries or business segments, and the relative standing of the company and its business segments in relation to its competitors. We do not believe diversity, whether of gender, race, ethnicity, or any other criteria, is a meaningful basis by which to identify and assess the qualifications of director nominees, nor do we seek director nominees purely for the sake of diversity. The board has established a director retirement age of 75, unless chair of the board grants a waiver as permitted under the retirement policy. Currently, none of the directors is of retirement age. Nominating process. The Nominating Corporate Governance Committee will consider recommendations for director candidates from a variety of sources, including incumbent directors, stockholders. In accordance with procedures described below, our management and third-party search firms, when nominating an incumbent director for re-election in an annual meeting, the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee considers the director's performance on the board and its committees and the director's qualifications in light of the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee's assessment of the board's needs. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committees has not adopted any criteria for evaluating a candidate for nomination to the board that differ depending on whether the candidate is nominated by a stockholder, an incumbent director, or management, third-party search firm, or other source. Consideration of stockholder nominated directors. In addition to proposing a candidate for possible nomination by the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee, any stockholder is entitled to directly nominate one or more candidates for election to the board in accordance with our bylaws. See other matters, other proposals, and nominees later in this proxy statement. Also, our bylaws include a proxy access provision, which allows a stockholder or a group of up to 25 stockholders owning 3% or more of our outstanding common stock continuously for at least 3 years to nominate and include in our proxy materials director nominees constituting up to 2 individuals at 25% of the board, whichever is greater, provided that the stockholders and the nominees satisfy the requirements specified in Article 3 of the bylaws. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's nominate Roaring Kitty. Annual board evaluation process. The board recognizes that a constructive evaluation process is an essential part of good corporate governance and board effectiveness. The evaluation processes utilized by the board are designed and implemented under the direction of the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and aim to assess board and committee effectiveness as well as individual director performance and contribution levels. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and the full board considers the results of these evaluations in connection with their review or director nominees to ensure the board continues to operate effectively. Why are you guys even, letting this fucking guy... why don't you just clap him? Why didn't you just clap him? Annual board evaluation process. The board recognizes that a constructive evaluation process is an essential of good corporate governance and board effectiveness. The evaluation process utilized by the board are designed and implemented under the direction of the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and aim to assess board and committee effectiveness as well as individual director performance and contribution levels. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and full board consider the results of these evaluations in connection with their review of direct nominees to ensure the board continues to operate effectively. Our directors regularly complete governance questionnaires and self-assessments. These questionnaires and assessments and feedback from discussions between the members of the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee and individual directors facilitate a candid assessment of the board's performance in areas such as business strategy, risk oversight, talent development, and succession planning and corporate governance, the board structure, composition, and culture, and the mix of skills, qualifications, and experiences of our directors. I don't see what he did. I mean, it's not about seeing what he did. It's about seeing the future. It's about seeing the future and just clapping him now. All right. Director independence determination. The board has adopted the definition of independence in the listing standards of the NYSE. In its assessment of director independence, the board considers all commercial, charitable, and other relationships and transactions that any director or member of his or her immediate family may have with us, with any of our affiliates, or with any of our consultants or advisors. The board has affirmatively determined that during fiscal 24, each of Alan Attell, Larry Chang, Jim Grube, and Yang Zhu, and the Audit Committee, the Compensation Committee, and the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee were independent under NYSE standards, as well as under standards set forth in SEC regulation. The board has also affirmatively determined that except for Ryan Cohen and Nat Turner, each of the director nominees is independent under the NYSE standards, as well as under standards set forth in SEC regulations, and that the Audit Committee, the Compensation Committee, and the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee are composed exclusively of independent directors under the foregoing standards. The board determined that Mr. Cohen is not independent because of his current executive position. In November 2024, the company entered into a collaboration with Collectors Holdings through its professional sports authenticator division. The board determined that Mr. Turner is not independent due to his role as chief executive officer and chairman of Collectors. For a description of the collaboration, see certain relationships and related transactions below. Our independent and non-management directors hold regularly scheduled executive sessions without management present. I need to get this ready. Seeming like it was. If that was 6ix9ine, he would. I don't think 6ix9ine would troll like that. Who knows? I don't really. I don't care who it was. I don't know why. I don't know why people gotta be so weird. Even if it was him, like, just come in on your account. Like, you've been gone long enough. See if he wrote in here before. Oh yeah, you can do that. I forget about that. No. It's just some random. It's probably, bruh. It's not 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine wouldn't do that, I don't think. Unless 6ix9ine has been the troll all along. But 6ix9ine wouldn't do that. You know, it's funny. Juan's been timed out 17 times. So, that should tell you who that is. That should be a pretty good idea of who that was. I always forget that you can look at the channel activity. Should have did that a long time ago with Mr. Juan. I would have known immediately who he was. I like when I look at people and it says 0 deleted messages. Like Jared here. 0 deleted messages, 0 timeout, 0 hides. I like that guy. The people who come in here and don't get clapped, I appreciate them. Like Small Fry's been here forever. He's never been timed out, never gotten a message deleted, never been hidden. It's like, those are neither. Damn, Matt Romano hasn't either. Shout out Matt Romano. I don't think Moose has either. Yeah, there's a lot of people here who haven't been clapped out before. Tricky. I think I've clapped Muma before, but like only once or twice in the beginning. Yeah, twice. See, everyone gets clapped every now and then, even Muma. Even Mooma got clapped one time. And he's been here longer than anyone else. Well, as far as since we've started streaming about GameStop at least. Maybe change his name. Probably Juan. Free 6'9". I have a feeling it'll be 18 on Monday. What's up, small fry? Mainstay people are nice here. Yeah, facts. It's because they get it. They get what, they get what the dynamic of the chat should be. It's a nice positive place. Some people can't accept that for some reason. Some people have to type weird stuff in the chat. They can't just be normal for some reason. I haven't. Nah, you haven't. You got a couple messages deleted, but you've never been timed out. But I'm also nice to you, so I let you get away with a lot sometimes. You say some weirdo stuff sometimes, and I'm like, what? Is that Kristen? Are you okay? Are you okay, Kristen? Geoff Jolly? Geoff Jolly, you've only been timed out once. You've only been timed out once, Mr. Geoff Jolly. Chat like a petri dish. I think I deleted him. No, I think it only counts if I do it, or like if another mod does, but other mods can't delete your stuff, I don't think. Only me. I have the power. What the hell happened to that thing I was reading? Where did it go? I lost it somehow. I guess I X'd out of it. I don't even remember where I was, though, so that sucks. Where was I? Oh, yeah, here. Yeah, right here. I said one thing negative about GME and I was gone. Well, welcome. 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 That's funny. All right, board leadership structure. In June 2023, the board appointed Ryan Cohen as executive chairman of the board and Alan Tell as lead independent director. Subsequently, in September 2023, the board appointed Mr. Cohen as the company's president, chief executive officer, and chairman. Therefore, the board's leadership structure is currently composed of a combined president, chief executive officer, and chairman of the board, and a lead independent director. The board believes that having a combined president, chief executive officer, and chair of the board enhances the board's oversight of our day-to-day operations and provides additional management expertise with respect to the complexities of our business unit. The establishment and maintenance of the lead independent director role is intended to provide an element of board leadership that is separate and distinct from executive management, thereby facilitating robust, independent, and objective contributions from the independent directors. The lead director's principal responsibilities and duties are I mean, at least you came back, Jeff. Most people get clapped and never come back. So, at least you gave the stream another chance. A tiny black heart? That's rude. That's messed up, bro. You really think that low of me? All right, board leadership that is separate and distinct from executive management, thereby facilitating robust, independent, and objective contributions from the independent director. Okay. Collaborating with president, chief executive officer and chairman of the board, coordinating the endeavors of the independent directors, presiding at meetings of the board at which the president, chief executive officer, and the chairman of the board are not present, evaluating the performance of the board and providing board performance feedback to the president, chief executive officer, and chairman of the board, evaluating the performance of the president, chief executive officer, and chairman of the board in consultation with the committees of the board as necessary, coordinating the selection and retention of the independent consultants and advisors to the board as necessary and appropriate, discussing board governance matters with major stockholders and other stakeholders if requested, and performing such other functions as our bylaws of the company provide or as the board may specify from time to time. In addition, all directors play an active role in overseeing our business both at the board and committee level. The structure, together with our other corporate governance practices, provides independent oversight of management while ensuring clear strategic direction for us. The board believes that at this time our stockholders are best served by this structure. Man, this is a lot. Majority voting in the elections of directors. Directors must be elected by a majority of the votes cast in elections for which the number of nominees for election does not exceed the number of directors to be elected. A plurality vote standard applies to contested elections where the number of nominees exceeds the number of directors to be elected. Our bylaws provide that any incumbent director who does not receive a majority of the votes cast in an uncontested election is required to tender his or her resignation for consideration by our Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee will make a recommendation to the board whether to accept or reject the resignation or whether other action should be taken. The director who tenders his or her resignation will not participate in the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committees or the board's decision. In determining its recommendation to the board, the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee will consider all factors that it deems relevant. Following such determination, we'll publicly disclose the board's decision, including, if applicable, the reasons for rejecting the tendered resignation. Tell your friends, or else. It's Jeff, by the way, spelled the posh. Oh yeah, I know. I used to have a friend, Jeff, who spelt his name that way, but that's just what we would call him, is Geoff. Code of Ethics. We have adopted a code of ethics for senior financial and executive officers that is applicable to our chief executive officer, principal financial officer, and principal accounting officer, any executive vice president, and any senior vice president or vice president employed in a finance or accounting role, and any managing director or finance director of all our foreign subsidiaries. We've also adopted a code of standards, ethics, and conduct applicable to all of our associates and non-employee directors. The code of ethics for senior financial executive officers and the code of standards, ethics, and conduct are available on our website. Blah, 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 blah. All right, clawback policy. To comply with the SEC and NYSE rules during fiscal 2023, we adopted a new clawback policy, a copy of which is filed with the SEC as an exhibit to our annual report, to provide for the recovery of any erroneously awarded incentive-based compensation as defined under SEC and NYSE rules in the event we are required to prepare an accounting reinstatement due to our material noncompliance with any financial reporting requirement under the federal securities law. In the event that recovery is required, the board will review and recover reasonably promptly all erroneously awarded incentive-based compensation awarded to or earned by our officers during the 3-year period prior to the date that we are required to prepare an accounting restatement. Recovery will be required on a no-fault basis without regard to whether any misconduct occurred and without regard to whether an executive officer was responsible for the erroneous financial statements. In addition, the clawback policy allows us to recover any incentive-based compensation received by an executive officer during certain periods to the extent the board determines it its good faith judgment that any financial reporting measures or other operating metrics were achieved in whole or part as a result of fraud or other misconduct on the part of such executive officer, or fraud or other misconduct of other employees of the company of which such executive officers had knowledge, whether or not such conduct results in a restatement of company financial statements. Why am I reading this whole thing? I don't even know. Equity ownership policy. The board believes that it is important for each executive officer and non-employee director to have a financial stake in the company, help align the executive officers and non-employee directors' interests with those of our stockholders. To that end, we have an equity ownership policy requiring that each executive officer and non-employee director maintain ownership of common stock with a value of at least the following. One sec. Okay. All right. So, chief executive officer, 5-time base salary. So, he's already got that. Named executive officer, 3 times base salary. Non-employee director, $275,000. New executive officers or non-employee directors are given a period of 5 years to attain full compliance with these requirements. These requirements will be reduced by 50% for executive officers after the executive officer reaches the age of 62 in order to facilitate appropriate financial planning. For purposes of these determinations, stock ownership includes shares of common stock which are directly owned or owned by family members residing with the executive officer or non-employee director, or by family trusts, as well as vested options and vested restricted stock and unvested restricted stock or equivalents, unless they are subject to achievement of performance targets and common stock or stock equivalents credited to such executive officer or non-employee director under any deferred compensation plan, and common stock shall be valued per share using the 200-day trailing average NYSE per share closing price. As of February 1st, 2025, each of our executive officers and non-employee directors was in compliance with our equity ownership policy, either because they owned adequate shares or within the applicable grace period to obtain adequate shares. Insider trading policy. The company's insider trading policy, which was filed as an exhibit to our most recent annual report, filed with the SEC on March 25, 2025. The insider trading policy provides guidelines with respect to transactions in the company's securities and handling the confidential information about the company and the companies with which the company does business. The purpose of the insider trading policy is to promote compliance with federal, state, and foreign securities laws that prohibit certain persons who are aware of material non-public information about a company from trading in securities of that company or providing material non-public information to other persons who may trade on basis of that information. The insider trading policy applies to the company's executive officers, directors, and employees, and other designated persons with access to the company's material non-public information, as well as to family members residing with them and any entities or family members whose transactions in the company's securities are directed by or subject to their influence and control. What is this? Oh, my name is Jeff. All right, pledging policy. On March 18th, 2025, the board adopted a pledging policy Under the pledging policy, executive officers and directors may pledge their company securities, exclusive of options, warrants, restricted stock units, or other rights to purchase company securities, as collateral for a loan or an investment, provided that a maximum aggregate loan or investment amount collateralized by such pledged securities does not exceed 50% of the total value of the pledged securities, as measured at the time of the initial loan or investment. Providing these individuals flexibility in financial planning without having to rely on the sale of shares aligns their interests with those of our stockholders. In order to safeguard the integrity and effectiveness of the pledging policy, the following restrictions apply. Each pledge is a transaction for purpose of the insider trading policy and is subject to the pre-clearance and other restrictions set out in insider trading policy. No pledge can be initiated at any time when the pledger is aware of any material non-public information about the company. The pledger must provide regular updates, at least quarterly, to the company's compliance officer regarding his or her pledged stock amount and loan amount. If necessary, the compliance officer will report the audit committee in any material change in the loan amount or pledged stock. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee will assess the risk to the company of any pledge arrangement at least annually and at any other time as is requested by the compliance officer. Subsequent declines in the values of company securities will not require the pledger to provide additional collateral or reduce the amount of the loan or investment. This one's interesting. Anti-hedging policy. Given that the aim of ownership of common stock is to ensure the employees and directors have a direct personal financial stake in our performance, hedging transactions on the part of employees and directors could be contrary to that purpose. Therefore, we have adopted an anti-hedging policy, which states that the implementation by an employee or director of hedging strategies or transactions using short sales, puts, calls, or other types of financial instruments, including but not limited to prepaid variable forward contracts, equity swaps, collars, and exchange funds, based upon the value of our common stock and applied to equity securities granted to such employee or director, or held directly or indirectly by such employee or director, is strictly prohibited. So that's kind of legit. All right, corporate governance guidelines, certification. The board has adopted corporate governance guidelines. The corporate governance guidelines are available, blah, 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 on an annual basis. Our general counsel submits to the NYSE the annual certification required by Section 303A12 of the NYSE listed company manual. In addition, we have filed with the SEC as exhibits to our annual report the certifications of our chief executive officer and principal financial officer required pursuant to Section 302 of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act relating to the quality of our public disclosure. Public disclosure. What's this? Never heard of this. Need to get rid of some tabs here. Damn, 95K Bitcoin. Crushing. United States federal law that mandates certain practices in financial record keeping and reporting. Sections that place requirements on all American public companies. Okay. Guess I can get rid of all these tabs too real quick. Wait. Oh. Okay. Damn, Tesla is kind of crushing. All right. Communications between stockholders and interested parties and the board. Stockholders and other interested persons seeking to communicate with the board should submit any communications in writing to our secretary. Any such communication must be accompanied by the following information. If the person submitted the communication is a stockholder, state the number of shares beneficially owned by the stockholder making the communication. And 2, if the person submitting the communication is not a stockholder and is submitting the communication as an interested party, the nature of the person's interest in the company, our secretary will forward such communication to the full board or to any individual director or directors to whom the communication is directed. Attendance at annual meetings. All members of boards are expected to attend the annual meeting and be available to address questions or concerns raised by stockholders. At our 2024 annual meeting of stockholders, all of our then incumbent directors who stood for re-election at the 2024 annual meeting attended the meeting virtually. Succession planning. The board is responsible for succession planning, and succession planning issues are discussed as a matter of course at regular board meetings. In addition, the Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee periodically reviews succession plans for our senior executive officer positions, including the chief executive officer. Oh man, this is a long ass document, man. We've been reading this for like an hour now. We're only about halfway through. All right, risk oversight. Responsibility for risk oversight resides with the full board. Committees help the board carry out this responsibility by focusing on key areas of risk inherent in the business. The audit committee oversees risk associated with financial and accounting matters, including compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, related party transactions, and our financial reporting and internal control system. The audit committee also oversees our internal audit function and regularly meets separately with representatives of our internal audit team. The principal financial officer, external auditors, and other financial and executive management, the compensation committee, oversees risks associated with compensation policies and the retention and development of executive talent, including the development of policies that do not encourage excessive risk-taking by our executives. These policies include various factors to help mitigate risk, include vesting periods, equity ownership policies, and clawback provisions. Compensation committee and management also regularly review our compensation policies to determine effectiveness and to assess the risk they present to us. Based on this review, we have concluded that our compensation policies and procedures are not reasonably likely to have a material adverse effect on us. In addition, at least annually, the board conducts a formal business review, including a risk assessment related to our existing business and new initiatives. Because overseeing risk is an ongoing process and inherent in strategic decisions, the board also discusses risk throughout the year at other meetings in relation to specific topics or actions. Director compensation. Historically, each non-employee director, other than Mr. Cohen, elected at the annual meeting received a restricted stock unit, awarded with respect to a number of shares determined by dividing 200,000 by the average closing price of our common stock for the 30-day trading days immediately preceding the annual meeting. Such RSUs vested upon earlier of the next regularly scheduled annual meeting following the award date or the grantee's death. One share of common stock was distributed in respect of each vested RSU within 60 days following the relevant vesting date or event. Under this structure, no cash compensation was paid to our employees. Holy shit. Whoa, Kristen got one. Jesus got one. Damn, Jesus is still here? That's crazy. Kristen, you finally got one. That's crazy. You finally got one. Shout out Moose, bro. Moose again. Blessing the stream up. Much love, Moose. I appreciate you. We appreciate you gifting the members, bro. I'm happy Kristen finally got one. I'm so happy. She finally got one. Look at her little rocket. She got a little rocket. She's been here for 5 years and barely just got the rocket. That's crazy. Been here for 5 years and you're just now getting the rocket. 8 pounds, 6 ounce, baby Jesus. With your golden fleece diapers. With your golden fleece diapers. Shout out to Moose again. Thank you for always blessing the stream, my friend. Moose is a huge supporter of the stream, so God bless Moose. God bless Small Fry as well. And anyone else who's donated. I appreciate you, for real. Thank you for supporting the stream. Because, you know, it's a free stream. You shouldn't really feel like you have to donate or anything like that. So anyone who does donate, I'm really appreciative of it. Alright. Commencing with the 24 annual meeting, the board eliminated all compensation for non-employee directors. The board believes that this new policy is consistent with the company's philosophy of creating an ownership mentality, encouraging investment by directors in the company, and aligning the interest of our directors with our stockholders. Under the current policy, our directors are only compensated to the extent their own investment in the companies appreciates, uniquely situating our directors to drive stockholder value. The board's equity ownership policy described above remains in full force and effect. Mr. Cohen declined to receive any compensation for his service as a director in fiscal 24. Following table provides information regarding compensation of our current non-employee directors for fiscal 24. Look at that. Nobody is taking stock compensation. That's sick. I don't think there's a single company you could go and find that their board of directors don't take stock compensation. Like, that's actually incredible. Mr. Turner was appointed to the board on November 18th, 2024. We've reimbursed and will continue to reimburse our directors for reasonable expenses incurred in connection with their attendance at board and committee meetings because the board believes that it is important for each director to have a financial stake in the company to help align the director's interest with those of our stockholders. We require our directors to maintain a certain level of ownership of common stock. For a description of the equity ownership policy, see Corporate Governance Equity Ownership Policy. Directors who are also executive officers, presently Mr. Cohen, do not receive additional compensation for their services as directors, and none of the directors receive additional compensation for their services as committee chairpersons. Lead independent director, or as our chair of the board, please see the portions of this proxy statement regarding executive compensation for a description of Mr. Cohen's compensation. Executive officers. Following table sets forth the names and ages of our current and former executive officers and the positions they hold or held as applicable during fiscal 24. Ryan Cohen, President, Chief Executive Officer and Chairman. Daniel Moore, Principal Financial and Accounting Officer. Mark Robinson, General Counsel and Secretary. Nur Patel, former Chief Operating Officer. So I guess Daniel and Mark still work there, I assume. Effective as of August 11th, 2023, Mr. Moore was named Interim Principal Financial Officer and Principal Accounting Officer. On March 25, 2024, the board promoted Mr. Moore to the role of Principal Financial Officer. Mr. Moore continued to serve in his role as the Principal Accounting Officer of the company. On April 4th, 2024, Mr. Patel departed from his service as Chief Operating Officer. Who's going to be the new COO then? This guy's like Moose that keeps the lights on, of course. We know it isn't Mitch and his COPD. I mean, it helps. Really donating the stream, I don't even count that as money. Like, that's why I buy, shirts and stuff from GameStop, because I want to give back to the stream in some sort of way. And if I just sat on the donation money, like, that's not really giving back to the stream. So yeah, I don't even look at the donation money as like, oh hell yeah, I made $20 today or whatever. Like, I don't even look at it that way. I'm like, oh nice, another $20 to go into like some cool hats or something, supporting GameStop in some way. Like, I don't use that money for myself. Oh shit. All right. I think I gotta go here, so I will be back. Enjoy the Roaring Kitty. God bless you.
shit. Oh, am I okay? Oh, shit. Oh, that was a close call. Hold on, I get my shit set up there. Oh. 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 Help. Send help. Send help. Can y'all hear me right now? I kind of forget how to do this. I kind of tested it. Can you hear me? I can't keep up with this chat. You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I can't read this chat. The chat. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, excellent. I had to dust this shit off to get this working. Ah, you brought me back to life with the chat. It's like the bzz, bzz. Oh shit. I'm alive. Kinda. What's up, everybody? I'm looking around. I feel like it's working, but I haven't done it in so long. I think it's working. I see you can hear me. It looks like it's going okay. So I think we can get it. Sorry, I'm legit looking at the chat here just to see. Okay, all right, I think it's working. I think it's working. Honestly, I can't believe that shit. I thought for sure I'd fuck it up somehow. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Oh, shit, I didn't even pour the beer yet, but that's okay. I got a beer. You know, I know it's the middle of the afternoon here, but right? It's Friday. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's not 5 o'clock here, but it's about to be. Oh shit! Wait, do I gotta wear this shit the whole time? I don't think there's no YouTube rules like whatever your drip is when you start, you got to keep rocking that. I'm pretty sure there's no way that's a rule. I mean, I'll keep it up for now because cheers, everybody! Let's go. Oh shit! Look at this. It's going up. I could say that, right? Can I say that? Can I say it's going up? Is that okay? Look at this. I can't keep that getting over. I think I can say that. Cheers. Crazy stuff going on these days, huh? Crazy stuff. Can you believe it's me? Can you believe it? Because it kind of looks like a lot of people don't. So I figured I'd pop in here, say what's up, everybody. I hope everyone's doing good. I know it's not the usual time of the stream, but figured I'd see what's going on, check in, how everyone's doing. No real game plan here. Just wanted to hop in, see what's popping. Damn. Yo, there's mad heads in here. God damn. All right. Okay, yeah, so I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a few years now. I hope y'all are good. We've been doing okay here, hanging in there. This, you may not, I mean, I was just messing around with this. This isn't a real bandage. This isn't a real, what do you call this, a splint? Is that the word? It's not real. I'm messing around right now. I'm messing around, okay? So other than this, we're doing okay here, right? It's been a crazy, well, first, I mean, it's been a crazy few years, right? It's been a crazy couple of months, too. Oh, shit. Yeah, bonkers. I wanted to, oh, here, let me just close. Ooh. It's pretty good to be back, you know? I kind of forgot. You kind of forget what it feels like after it's been so long. Huh? I hope, before I get started here, I feel like, what is it, Ocean's 12? Like, how many espressos do you have? 5. That's me right now, you know? But now you got to make the switch, you know? You do the little pre-gaming. You do the pre-gaming action, which in my case might be some coffee or some espresso or something. But I think it's time to make a switch, all right? So, I don't know what type of beer you think I'd be going for today, but, I mean, maybe this isn't the right day to do it. I mean, I hope, can I do this? Can I show this? Oh, you can't see it? You can't see it. Oh, can you guess what beer that is? Can you guess? That's a hint that you can't see it. Oh, I should have tested that. Whoops. Oh, shit. Let's see if you... Oh, you see it. Oh, they see it. I mean, I'm not caught up with the chat, but at least I can see y'all scrolling through there. Green. It's green. It's green. Cause, all right. So it's green, right? But go Celtics. All right, go Celtics. We won last night. All right. I'm pulling for them. I guess it's not a green day here, right? But this is the finals, baby. To start off the series with that shit, come on, let's pour it. Let's pour this. Let's start it off right. Like I said, 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock. Oh, Carlsberg is actually a good guess. That's actually a good guess. That's a green one too. Rolling Rock. Go Celtics. Let's go. See, I can't keep up the chat, but I can look over. Sorry, I'm new to a lot of people being here, right? I just look, but at least I can catch some of your things. All right, let's pour this in here. My buddy. Oh, can you see this if I pour it all the way in there? I should have showed you before I poured this shit. My buddy hooked me up with some. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can't see it. Maybe when the head pops up. Hold on. All right, let me just pull that up here, huh? Man, I kind of screwed up the pour there. That's okay. Okay, I'm doing it with one hand. Also, I'm sorry. I mean, I was late, but you try starting a stream rocking this. You know, I mean, I'm doing it. I'm like trying to do it opposite here. All right? Sorry about that. All right, now for real though. I think I gotta take this off. It's messing with my head. I feel like I'm actually injured or something. How do I do that? All right, let's do that. Whew. Whew. All right, let's pop that off. Whew. Oh shit! It's stuck to my hair. Ah, shit. Okay. Let me pop that over there. It's getting kind of warm in here too. But I mean, now you know I was just messing around. I don't need this ice pack. I got this ice pack just in case. I mean, it is getting a little bit warm. But again, I was just messing around. I don't actually need this. But if I get too hot, let's hope the beer cools me down. Yeah. So what's up, everybody? I gotta be. Do I have to be careful what I say here? I'm not really sure. I don't know, but I did want to hop on the stream here. I mean, some of you have seen. I've been back, kind of active for a few months, but I did want to. Oh wait, let me just move this over here. I figured I'd check in. This is me, by the way. I see a lot of question marks. Oh, is he back? Is it someone else? I mean, can you tell? Can you tell it's me now? I mean, what weirdo spends their free time working on memes? You know, like, is someone else? Is someone else doing that? You know, I own it. I own it. That's okay. But no, hey, this is me. I'm not AI either. Or am I AI? Ooh. I could be these days. You know, I see it's changed a lot these past few years. But no, this is me. I wanted to pop in here, be like, yo, what's up? Say what's up. I guess remind everybody that this is me, that I'm the one active on my accounts, of course. What else to say here? I see a lot of the stuff out there. I'm just like, what the hell? What else? Oh, these are the accounts I'm showing, and my positions are mine. You know, it's like those are my positions. I'm not working with anybody else. I mean, I'm not cool. I'm not working with hedge funds. Like it's like the same stuff as last time. So it's kind of interesting to see that stuff. So I'm like, all right, I gotta hop on a stream and just remind people, you know. And then what else? Like I'm not an institutional investor, you know. I'm not all this other stuff, and I am definitely not Paul Dano. All right. I don't know if you thought you were gonna tune in today. It was gonna be like Paul Dano on here, but I'm not Paul Dano. Okay. And actually, I gotta be honest here. I still haven't seen that movie. I haven't seen them. I've seen some clips, but I still haven't seen that movie. But no, I'm not Paul Dano. I'm not Paul Dano either. So I'm sorry to disappoint if that's what you were tuning in to see. Oh no, I'm causing it to go down. I need a button that, like, I press the button and it ejects me from this. If the price is going down, or if I say something, oh boy, just press the button and get me out. But it is what it is. What am I gonna do? Yeah, so I just wanted to check in with you folks, remind you all that stuff, let you know that it's me, say what's up. Let me see this chat here. And yeah, so I mean, can I talk about GameStop? What can I say about GameStop? I mean, the funny thing is that I have a lot of the same feelings about everything, you know. It's you kind of, I mean, I've talked a lot about, GameStop and how I feel about the situation and all that. And I thought I wanted to hop on and kind of reiterate a lot of my viewpoints that I had previously. Yeah, I think, remember, if you remember my previous thoughts on the company and the opportunity, there was kind of like a two-part thesis to it. And that second part of the thesis is a reinvention of the business model, or a transformation, whatever you want to call it. And I just, to remind people who, if you haven't seen my materials, is that we're in that second part of it here, where it's less about, I see over the past couple of years, I see an overemphasis on like that legacy business. And it's just, there's no it matters. It's not that it doesn't matter, of course, but they're in the transformation stage here. And what could they transform into? You know what I mean? There's a lot of question marks about that, understandably so. But essentially it becomes, at this stage of that second part of the analysis, this transformation part, it becomes a bet on the management. You know, in particular, of course, Ryan fucking Cohen. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Cohen and his crew. And that's what folks are should be focused on, you know what I mean? And that's probably going to be an ongoing debate as to how people feel about him, whether he can successfully transform that business. And those are great discussions. And those are good discussions that need to be had. And so when I look at the situation, though, and I'm kind of going to be echoing some of the thoughts that I had previously, is that I feel like I see enough where I believe this guy might be able to do it, right? That's not a guarantee. This is the same thing as before. I mean, I'm not promising anything, but over the long term here, I think he seems like the type of guy. He seems like he has those characteristics, and the way he approaches this seems like he might be able to do this. But again, that's not a guarantee. This is kind of like, it's kind of based on feel. You've heard me say that, right? And so I have that feeling. I have this feeling, and I'm like, all right, let me reiterate some of these feelings that I have. But it remains to be seen, you know. And you should keep your eye on stuff too. Reserve the right to change your mind about stuff, just like I do. Don't follow anyone blindly. Nothing on this stream is advice. Hopefully, you all know that, right? This is the same thing. But like when I have a feeling about that, it's like, all right, well, let me share it. I could be wrong about stuff, but I think, all right, let's talk about it. And I don't know. I think he has the characteristics that he could do this. In particular, I think we can all agree GameStop finds itself in a very unique situation, just like it did last time, right? Not just in the gaming space per se, but you have a company where you actually have so many people rooting for it, right? They're rooting for it to work out, myself included. How often does that happen? That folks like really want it to work out, and it's a highly unusual position, and it's so unusual. The way you manage that situation is. You got to manage it the right way. And honestly, the way he seems to be doing it, I think he's from a distance here, right? I have no idea, but I put myself in his shoes, and I think he's kind of seems to be taking the right approach, given this very unique situation that he finds himself, that the company finds itself in. You have a lot of investors kind of following what's happening, kind of wanting it to work out. You know what I say? That's very unusual. It's a very unusual situation. And I don't know if there's not too much precedent for it. You see it with some other companies, especially when the CEOs or the managers are just so heavily investing themselves in the business, investing themselves in the turnaround. And there's some managers out there who are somewhat similar. So I see it in Cohen. So that I think that he has the type of he seems to be doing the right things. And I know the question marks will be, well, what has he done? What is he doing? What's the plan? You know, those are fair questions. But, you know, do you really think he's been doing nothing, or that GameStop hasn't been strategizing, testing some things here and there, and how to move forward? I think that's pretty ridiculous. I think we've seen enough, in particular from him, to be honest. I think we've seen enough from him to think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and again, we haven't seen anything. It's speculation. You can argue that, but honestly, the way he seems to be handling this, and we don't know a plan, and that's fair. But boy, you're right-sizing the ship. You see even the legacy business cutting costs, trying to stabilize some cash flows. You know, just try to stabilize that legacy business. But now it's all about the transformation, and that cash pile is growing. It seems to be growing. Will they raise more money? We'll see. I don't know. I mean, I see it, but if you just change one factor, and that's that you don't think Ryan Cohen is a doofus, all right? If you don't think he's a doofus and he's not a fool, if you don't think that, and all of a suddenly they're sitting on billions of dollars in cash, right? And you actually think not only is he not a doofus, but he's extremely talented in that he has the capability to turn this around. If you just, even if you don't agree with that, right? Even if you don't believe it, that's fine. If you just pause for a moment and think about that.
Now I don't know who Lil Doofus is, but if you're talking, if you're talking about Ryan Cohen saying GameStop's a failing company. Now I don't know who Little Doofus is. Oh man. Oh man. That was funny. I wonder if that guy's live again. That shit was so funny. No, nobody's streaming this. Boring. All right. I guess we're back on the reading front. Link it if you. Nobody streams GameStop these days. I swear I'm like the only one. I know I'm not, but anytime I check, there's nobody live. All right, where are we at? So executive officers. Ryan Cohen. For background information on Mr. Cohen, please see biographies of director nominees. We already read that. Dan Moore. Mr. Moore serves as the company's principal financial officer, a role he has had since March 2024, and as the company's principal accounting officer, a role he has had since August 2023. Prior to being appointed principal financial and accounting officer, Mr. Moore served in the following roles since joining the company in July 2021. Interim principal financial officer, August 23 to March 24. Vice President Corporate Global Controller, September 2022 to August 23. And Vice President Global Tax, July 21 and September 2022. Prior to joining the company in 2021, Mr. Moore served as Vice President Tax at Elevate Textiles and Director of International Tax at Roper Technologies. Overall, Mr. Moore has more than 19 years experience in finance, accounting, and tax. Mark Robinson. Mr. Robinson serves as our General Counsel and Secretary, a role he has had since January 2022. Since joining the company in August 2015, Mr. Robinson has served in the following roles: General Manager, June 2023 to September 2023. Vice President, Assistant General Counsel, June 2020 to January 2022. And Senior Counsel, August 2015 to June 2020. In his current role, he oversees the legal and human resource functions of the company. Prior to joining the company in 2015, Mr. Robinson held positions as an attorney at law firms Norton Rose Fulbright and Jones Day, where he provided counsel on corporate and finance transactions. Security ownership of certain beneficial owners and management and related stockholder matters. The following table sets forth the number of shares of our common stock beneficially owned on April 21st, 2025 by each director, each of the NEOs, and each holder of 5% or more of our common stock, and all of our directors and executive officers as a group, including shares of common stock that such persons or holder has the right to acquire within 60 days of April 21, 2025. Except as otherwise noted, the individual director or executive officer, including the former executive officer who was a NEO, or his or her immediate family members, had sole voting and investment power with respect to the identified securities. Except as otherwise noted, the address of each person listed below is CO GameStop Corp. Total number of shares, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. 5% stockholders are Vanguard and BlackRock, and Ryan Cohen, obviously. And then, yeah, those are just how many shares everyone holds. I think Larry owns 83,000 shares. That's probably about right. All right, less than 1%. I'm like losing my voice over here. All right, shares of common stock that an individual or group has a right to acquire within 60 days after April 21st. 2025 percentage of the exercise of options, warrants, or other rights are deemed to be outstanding for the purpose of computing the beneficial ownership of shares and percentage of such individuals or group, but are not deemed to be outstanding for the purpose of computing the beneficial ownership of shares and percentage. All right, it's basically just reiterating everything that's on this thing. I do want to read this one though. Based on information including in Amendment Number 11 to Schedule 13D filed with SEC on April 3rd, 2025 by Mr. Cohen, the 37,347,842 shares are owned directly by Mr. Cohen. As of April 3rd, 2025, 22,340,000 shares beneficially owned by Mr. Cohen have been deposited into a margin account with Charles Schwab & Co., Inc., in connection with a standard margin loan arrangement whereby margin credit may be extended to Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen generally retains voting and investment discretion over such shares prior to any foreclosure on such shares that could be triggered in the event Mr. Cohen fails to timely satisfy any minimum margin maintenance requirements with Charles Schwab. Includes 20,522 unvested restricted stock. Okay. Anyway. Compensation Committee interlocks and insider participation. The members of the Compensation Committee are Alan Attell, Larry Chang, and Jim Grube. None of them have ever been an employee of the company. No member of the Compensation Committee had a relationship requiring disclosure in this proxy statement under items 404 or 407 on SEC Regulations SK. Proposal 2. Holy shit. It took us over an hour to read just a third of this. Okay. All right. Advisory vote on executive compensation. We believe that it is appropriate to solicit the views of our stockholders regarding the compensation of our NEOs. Accordingly, and in accordance with SEC rules implemented under Section 14A of the Exchange Act, the company seeks a non-binding advisory vote from our stockholders on the compensation of our NEOs. As described in this proxy statement, although the advisory vote on Proposal 2 is non-binding, as provided by law, the Compensation Committee of the Board and the Board will review the results of the vote, and consistent with our record of stockholder engagement, will consider the results of the vote when making future compensation decisions. As discussed more fully in the compensation discussion and analysis in this proxy statement, Compensation Committee believes that NEOs should be compensated commensurate with their success in maintaining a high level of performance necessary for the company to produce ongoing and sustained value for stockholders. Following our 2023 annual meetings advisory vote on the frequency of the advisory vote on executive compensation, we conduct an advisory vote on executive compensation on an annual basis. This is an advisory vote and is not binding upon the company, the Compensation Committee, or the board. Therefore, stockholders are not ultimately voting for the approval or disapproval of the board's recommendation on this proposal. The result of the vote will not impact any compensation that has already been paid or awarded to the executive officers. Except for costs to the company of providing Ryan Cohen, our president, chief executive officer, and chairman, executive security services in accordance with the independently assessed executive security program established by our board, Mr. Cohen has declined all forms of salary, benefits, and other compensation from the company. Therefore, Mr. Cohen primarily only benefits to the extent his existing investment in the company appreciates and is therefore uniquely situated to drive stockholder value. The compensation for our other executive officers is designed to ensure that such officers are also incentivized to drive long-term stockholder value. We accomplish this through a model that purposely prioritizes equity incentives that are both time and performance based. We strongly encourage stockholders to read the compensation discussion and analysis, compensation tables, and the accompanying narrative disclosures in this proxy statement, which discuss in greater detail the compensation of our executive officers, company's compensation philosophy, and the factors that the compensation committee considers in making compensation decisions. Board recommends that stockholders vote for the following resolution. Resolved that the company stockholders approve or on an advisory basis the compensation of the NEOs as disclosed in the company's proxy statement for 2025 annual meeting of stockholders pursuant to the compensation disclosure rules of the SEC, including the compensation discussion and analysis, the summary compensation table, and the other related tables and disclosures. The board unanimously recommends that stockholders vote for the approval on a non-binding advisory basis of the resolution on compensation of our named executive officers. Proxies solicited by this proxy statement will be voted for this proposal unless a vote against the proposal or an abstention is specifically indicated. Compensation discussion and analysis. Compensation philosophy. We believe it is mutually beneficial for the company and our employees to instill an ownership mentality and have a significant majority of compensation in the form of equity. Accordingly, our compensation program is designed to drive ownership of our work, our capital, and our relationship to the customer as we focus on profitability. Our executive compensation program is administered by the Compensation Committee. The program is based upon the following principles. The primary compensation opportunities we offer should align with long-term interests of our employees, with those of our stockholders, encourage long-term strategic thinking, and motivate and reward executives for achieving go-forward business strategies and maximizing stockholder value. Therefore, a substantial portion of management's compensation will be in the form of long-term equity compensation. To retain and motivate talent, in limited circumstances, we offer short-term equity incentive compensation. These short-term equity incentives focus on aligning employees' compensation with annual objective financial goals. Accordingly, management may be entitled to short-term equity compensation if specified annual objective financial goals are achieved by the company. The Compensation Committee believes our compensation model is reflective of these guiding principles. The vast majority of our executive compensation program, which is mainly comprised of long-term equity incentives, is tied to our stock price, directly aligning the interest of our executives with those of our stockholders. To the extent the company succeeds in achieving our business strategy, our executives will be rewarded through stock price appreciation. However, failure to achieve our strategy and deliver sustainable stockholder value creation will lead to an erosion of realized pay to our executives. In limited circumstances, we also use short-term equity incentive based on the achievement of objective financial goals. This fundamental commitment to pay for performance underscores our compensation decision-making. As mentioned above, in accordance with independently assessed executive security program established by our board, the company provides Mr. Cohen, our president, chief executive officer, and chairman, with executive security services. We believe these services and costs are reasonable, appropriate, necessary, and in the best interest of the company and its stockholders, as they enable Mr. Cohen to carry out his responsibilities and therefore mitigate risks to our business. While we do not consider these security services to be a personal benefit for or compensation paid to Mr. Cohen, because they arise from and are necessary for carrying out of his employment responsibility, the aggregate incremental costs to the company of providing these services for fiscal year 2024 is set forth in all other compensation column in the SCT below. Mr. Cohen has declined all other forms of salary, benefits, and other compensation. Mr. Cohen, therefore, primarily only benefits to the extent his existing investment in the stock and company appreciate, which directly aligns his interests with the stockholders. The key elements of our compensation program from NEOs, excluding Mr. Cohen, are base salary, new hire bonuses, and equity incentives as described below. Base salary. The base salaries of our NEOs are purposely designed to provide a modest level of cash compensation that is significantly less than those paid to senior leadership at similarly positioned companies, and significantly less than base salaries historically paid to our former executive officers. New hire bonuses. NEOs receive a cash bonus typically paid during the first 2 years of employment to maintain targeted compensation near term while their equity vesting schedule ramps up over time. Long-term equity incentives. The primary component of an NEO's total compensation is equity compensation issued in the form of time-vested restricted stock units. Accordingly, NEOs receive sizable stock-based awards at the time of hire and are also eligible for stock-based awards on a periodic basis. Because our compensation program is designed to reward long-term performance and operate over a period of years, NEOs typically receive stock-based awards that vest over a number of years. Annual total compensation is reported in the SCT below, includes the entire fair value of the grant date of a stock award granted in that year, without regard to the fact that the grant vests over a number of years. As a result, our NEO's total compensation as reported will be higher in years in which they receive a grant compared to years in which they do not receive a grant. While the long-term equity incentive do not vest based on performance targets, due to the structure of our compensation plan, executive interests are directly linked with long-term stockholder performance. Short-term equity incentives. To retain and motivate management to drive performance over annual periods, in limited circumstances, the company offers short-term equity incentive compensation based on the achievement of objective financial goals. These annual objective financial goals are selected in order to motivate our executive to focus on achievement of our key short-term financial criteria, specifically emphasizing profitability. Limited prerequisite what is that, prerequisites or perquit? I don't know what that is. We believe that our executives should be compensated primarily through equity incentive and base salary. Other than Mr. Cohen's executive security, we have not established, nor do we have any intention of establishing any prerequisites. I don't know if that's that word or not. Limited severance benefits. All of our NEOs are employed on an at-will basis. We no longer offer employment agreements and provide severance benefits only in very limited circumstances. The Compensation Committee oversees risks associated with our compensation policies and the retention and development of executive talent, including the development of policies that do not encourage excessive risk-taking by our executives. These policies include various factors to help mitigate risk, including vesting periods, investment policies, equity ownership policies, and clawback provisions. The Compensation Committee and management also regularly review our compensation policies to determine effectiveness and to assess the risk they present to the company. Based on this review, we have concluded that our compensation policies and procedures are not reasonably likely to have a materially adverse effect on the company. Changes in senior management. On March 25th, 2024, the board promoted Mr. Moore, who had previously been interim principal financial officer, to the role of principal financial officer. Mr. Moore continues to serve in his role as the principal accounting officer of the company. On April 4th, 2024, Mr. Patel departed from service as our chief operating officer. Named executive officers. This compensation discussion and analysis covers the fiscal 24 compensation for the following NEOs as determined. Didn't we already read this basically? Alright, I'm going to skim a little bit. Substantial portion of our stockholders for 23 compensation. The compensation committee is responsible for developing compensation levels for our NEOs. To determine compensation levels for new NEOs, the compensation committee considered a variety of factors, including the NEO's level of responsibility and expected contribution to our future success. Compensation Committee may also periodically modify the compensation levels or grant additional equity to existing NEOs and other employees based on factors set out above as well. Okay. Key elements of compensation. Our policies with respect to each of the key elements of NEO compensation are discussed below. In addition, what the hell? That was odd. Considering compensation committee also considers and reviews full compensation package we provide to our executive officer. The base salary table immediately below. The below tables are indicative of the applicable amounts from our anniversary of the NEOs, hire date occurring in the first year noted to the anniversary of such. Okay. Effective as of April 4th, 2024, Mr. Moore's annual base salary was increased to $200,000 in connection with his promotion to Principal Financial Accounting Officer. So Dan Moore and Mark Robinson both make $200K a year. Ryan Cohen makes nothing. New hire bonuses. Following their hire date or promotion date as applicable, NEOs receive a one-time cash bonus that pays out over time and is intended to maintain targeted total compensation near term while their equity vesting schedule ramps up over time. These bonuses are paid in bi-weekly installments beginning on the hire date or adoption date of the new compensation structure and typically decrease over time. While most new hire bonuses span the first 2 years from hire or adoption of the compensation program, they can bridge into subsequent years to address various pay factors as outlined in the compensation determination process section. In connection with his promotion to Principal Financial and Accounting Officer on April 4, 2024, Mr. Moore's total targeted compensation was increased, and on July 1, 2024, Mr. Moore was granted a restricted stock unit award, as described below, in order to maintain Mr. Moore's target total compensation near term, while his new equity vesting schedule ramped up over time. Mr. Moore was awarded a cash bonus of $28,877, which was similar in form to a new hire bonus. This bonus is reflected below in the 23-24 period. Mr. Cohen declined all forms of cash bonuses. Okay, Dan Moore is the only one who got a cash bonus, but I don't think Mark got promoted or anything like that. Oi. All right, paid an equal bi-weekly installment over 6 pay periods, beginning with the first pay period ending April 11th, 2024. Separately, Mr. Moore also received a $25,000 spot bonus in fiscal 23 in recognition of his service and contributions to the company. Long-term equity incentives. In fiscal 24, we granted time-vested restricted stock units to both Mr. Robinson and Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore received grants in connection with his promotion of Principal Financial and Accounting Officer in recognition of his contributions to the company. Mr. Robinson received a grant in recognition of his contributions to the company. The service requirements otherwise applicable to these awards may be waived in certain scenarios. See offer letter and severance change and control benefits elsewhere in this proxy. Mr. Cohen declined all form of compensation. The target value at vesting is indicative of the applicable NEO's long-term equity compensation from the anniversary of such NEO's hire dates, occurring in the first year noted, the anniversary of such hire date, and each subsequent year noted. Short-term equity incentives. On September 5th, 2024, Compensation Committee approved performance awards pursuant to the GameStop Corp 2022 incentive plan for Mr. Robinson and Mr. Moore for fiscal years 24 and 25. Such performance awards will consist of restricted stock, have intended grant values equal to $500,000 for each fiscal year, are subject to vesting based on the achievement of $50 million in operating profit, excluding royalties, for the company's United States geographic segment for each such fiscal year and each officer's continued employment, and will be granted to the extent such performance criteria is satisfied for the applicable fiscal year on April 1st of the following year, and will vest in equally quarterly parts on the grant date and the following July 1st, October 1st, and January 1st. The performance criteria was not achieved for fiscal year 24, and therefore no portion of the STI awards were paid on April 1st, 2025. Mr. Cohen declined all forms of short-term equity compensation. Okay, target total compensation summary. In summary of the compensation elements detailed above, target total compensation for NEOs under our compensation program for the next 4 years is described in the table below. We analyzed target compensation for each NEO on an annual basis from the hire date. Okay. Target value, vesting, applicable NEOs, long-term equity compensation. Oh, I can't believe her. Why did I read this whole thing? I still need to read Project Rocket too. I was gonna do that at the start of the week, but I forgot. As described above, the Compensation Committee considers the following when determining total compensation for NEOs. Reward executives who believe in the company to achieve go-forward business strategy. By awarding one-time new hire RSU grants, our executive team has the potential for significant rewards through this program, but only to the extent the team executes on our long-range business and strategic objectives that result in share price appreciation. Any decrease in stock price will erode the realizable value that can be earned by our executives upon vesting. The structure of this long-term incentive program ensures that we attract and retain executives who are willing to tie the vast majority of their compensation to stockholder value creation, given their belief in our long-term business strategy. Interesting. Retain and motivate executives who believe in the company. Periodically providing our executive team with short-term equity incentives encourages achievement of specific one-year financial and management goals. These short-term equity incentives also align executives' compensation with the company's financial performance and strategic initiatives. As mentioned above, except for the incremental cost to the company of providing Mr. Cohen executive security services in accordance with the independently assessed executive security program established by our board, Mr. Cohen has declined all forms of salary, benefits, and other compensation from the company for serving as president, chief executive officer, and chairman. Mr. Cohen therefore primarily only benefits to the extent his existing investment in the stock of the company appreciates, which directly aligns his interests with that of our stockholders. What's up, Vintage? Offer letters and severance change and controlled benefits. We have issued offer letters or continuing employment letters to the NEOs other than Mr. Cohen, detailing the terms of each NEO's employment. The employment of all of our NEOs is at will and may be terminated by the company or the executive at any time, and each executive is restricted from competing with us for a period of time after termination. After termination of employment, regardless of the reason for termination. Under the terms of the offer letters, each executive is entitled to all benefits afforded to management personnel, or as determined by the board, including but not limited to insurance programs, vacation, sick leave, and 401k benefits. Mr. Robinson's offer letter also provides that upon his termination of employment without cause, Mr. Robinson, subject to an effective release, would receive 6 months of base pay, an amount equal to 6 months of COBRA premium for him and his dependents. C. Any transformation bonus installment that has not been paid. D. The portion of an equity award that was scheduled to be paid during the 6-month period following termination. And E. Any long-term incentive cash that was otherwise scheduled to vest during the 6-month period following termination. The offer letter of Mr. Patel provided that upon his termination of employment without cause, Mr. Patel, subject to an effective release, would receive 6 months of base pay, an amount equal to 6 months of COBRA premiums for executive and his dependents, any new hire bonus installments which have not already been paid, and the portion of the executive's equity awards that would otherwise vest during the 6 months following 6 months immediately following their termination. On April 4th, 2024, company and Mr. Patel entered into a separation agreement and mutual release of claims, which were filed with the SEC on April 4th, 2024. Separation agreement provided for Mr. Patel's departure from the company as the company's chief operating officer effective April 4th, 2024. Separation agreement contains a customary general lease of claims by Mr. Patel and the company and provides for the following: a lump sum payment to Mr. Patel consisting of 10 weeks of base salary, an amount equal to applicable premiums of COBRA continuation coverage for 2 months, and 30% of the remaining unearned portion of Mr. Patel's sign-on bonus, and acceleration of vesting of 30% of the portion of Mr. Patel's equity awards that were otherwise scheduled to vest in the ordinary course during the 6-month period immediately following his separation date. The triggering events which would result in the payment of the severance amounts described above were selected because they provide the applicable employees with a guaranteed level of financial protection upon loss of employment and are considered competitive with severance provisions being offered currently in the market. The estimated payments upon a hypothetical termination for each of the NEOs as of the end of fiscal 24 are detailed in the offer and letters potential payments upon termination or change in control below. In addition, the actual payments made to Mr. Patel are shown below under the heading Actual Executive Separation. Holy shit, are we almost done with this? This is ridiculous. Other compensation considerations. Clawback of awards. We have adopted a formal clawback policy to recover past compensation awards from executive officers in the event of fraud or reinstatement. For a description of the clawback policy, see Corporate Governance Clawback Policy. Stock ownership. We've adopted a stock ownership policy which requires our NEOs and non-employee directors to be stockholders. Compensation Committee believes that ownership of stock of the committee that is material to the income of the individuals involved provides an appropriate incentive to such officers and non-employee directors and aligns their interests with the interest of our stockholders. For a description of the stock ownership policy, see Corporate Governance Equity Ownership Policy. Insider trading. I'm just going to skip this part. We've already read all of this. Basically. I don't think I read this, though. Retirement benefits. Each of our executive officers is entitled to participate in our defined contribution 401k plan on the same basis as all our other eligible employees. Historically, we match the contributions of participants, subject to certain criteria. Effective January 1st, 2024, company suspended employer matching contributions for all employees. Under the terms of 2024 401k plan, as prescribed by the IRS, contribution of any participating employee is limited to a maximum percentage of annual pay or a maximum dollar amount of $23,000 pre-tax and $7,500 catch-up for 2024. Our executive officers are subject to these limitations, and therefore we do not consider our retirement benefits to be a material portion of our compensation program for our executive officers. Wait. Maximum percentage of annual pay or a maximum dollar amount, $23,000 pre-tax and $7,500 catch-up for 20. Wait, so if I went, I don't know if I'm understanding this correctly, but if I went and worked at GameStop, I could literally just like not get paid and just have it all go into my 401k. I don't know if that's right. And I don't think that's right, but that's kind of like what that sounds like. Well, at least up to 23,000, I guess. I mean, that'd be cool. I don't think GameStop pays worth shit, but like, if you're getting paid in GameStop shares, I guess who cares? Life insurance. Historically, and I really doubt their 401k's GameStop shares. It's probably just SPY. I don't know. Life insurance. Historically, all of our active NEOs participate in our standard salaried employee group term life insurance program, but have their death benefits under that program increased to 3 times the employee's base salary, up to a maximum death benefit of $1.5 million. Company's paid life insurance program was discontinued on January 1st, 2024. Benefits and prerequisites. Perquisites. I don't even know how to say that word. We maintain traditional health and welfare benefit plans, which are generally offered to all employees. subject to basic plan eligibility requirements, and are consistent with the types of benefits offered by other similar corporations. We believe in a consistent benefit experience for all employees across the organization, regardless of level. As a result, we have eliminated and no longer offer certain executive level prerequisites, I don't know, sometimes offered by similar corporations, including disability insurance, commensurate with executive salaries, third-party financial planning services, reimbursement of certain otherwise uninsured medical expenses, and annual physical examinations. As discussed above, the company does provide Mr. Cohen with executive security services. Compensation Committee reports on executive compensation. The Compensation Committee has reviewed and discussed the compensation discussion and analysis contained in this proxy statement with members of our management. Based on such review and discussion and relying thereon, we have recommended the board that the compensation discussion and analysis set forth above be included in our 2024 annual report on Form 10-K and in this proxy. Compensation table. So, I mean, Cohen does get some compensation. It's just not a salary or anything like that. Do the English Jimmy boy. So that's all the Pokemon that come in store. As he's opening the packs. When Jimmy pays you, you can open your own shop. I don't think I would ever open a store. That kid went live. You gonna troll? Nah. I'm gonna continue to read this. All right. So summary compensation table. I don't really want to read this part, but I'm not going to read this part. I don't care. I'm going to skip. Grants of plan-based awards. I really don't want to read these. Good lord, there's still so. Oh, we're almost done actually. We're almost done actually. That's crazy. Alright, fine. Fine. I'll read the rest of it. Have it your way. Alright, Mr. Patel was appointed to his role with the company during fiscal 2022 and was not previously employed by us. As such, the SCT does not include disclosure for years preceding fiscal 2022 for Mr. Patel. Messrs. Cohen, Robinson, and Moore became NEOs during fiscal 2023. Therefore, their respective compensation is not disclosed for years prior to fiscal 23. Mr. Robinson's salary increased from $170,000 to $200,000 on June 7, 2023, in connection with his appointment as general manager. Effective as of April 4, 2024, Mr. Moore's salary increased from $170,000 to $200,000 in connection with his promotion to principal financial and accounting officer. The bonus amount in 2023 for Mr. Moore includes $80,000 in new hire bonuses, with the remaining bonus attributed to a $25,000 spot bonus in recognition of his service and contributions to the company. The bonus amount in 2024 for Mr. Moore was issued in connection with Mr. Moore's promotion to principal financial officer and was issued in order to maintain Mr. Moore's target total compensation near term while his new equity vesting schedule ramped up over time. The bonus amount in 2023 for Mr. Robinson was composed of a $76,154 bonus attributed to his adoption of the new compensation program beginning in July 2021. Bonus amounts for Mr. Patel are composed of new hire bonuses as detailed in the offer letter. reflects the grant date fair value for the designated fiscal years for the restricted stock awards in accordance with ASC 718, based on the common stock price on the date of grant. The amount reported in all other compensation column in fiscal 2024 for Mr. Cohen represents the incremental cost to the company of providing Mr. Cohen's security services in accordance with independently assessed executive security program established by our board. The amount reported in the all other compensation column in fiscal 2024 for Mr. Patel represents cash severance payments. Severance payments which were made in connection with Mr. Patel's offer letter are detailed in the offer letter and severance change and control benefits section. Grants of plan-based awards in fiscal 2024. Equity incentive plan awards consist of restricted stock units. For additional information on these grants, refer to the discussion under long-term equity incentives in the compensation discussion and analysis above. The grant date fair value of each equity award was computed in accordance with ASC 718 based on the closing price of common stock on the grant date. No awards were granted to Mr. Cohen or Mr. Patel in fiscal 24. This award was granted to Mr. Moore in connection with his promotion to Principal Financial and Accounting Officer and vests in 12 equal tranches every 3 months until fully vested 3 years from the grant. This award was granted to Mr. Moore in recognition of his service and contributions to the company and vests in 4 equal tranches every 3 months until fully vested 1 year from the grant date. This award was granted to Mr. Robinson in recognition of his service and contribution to the company and vests in 4 equal tranches every 3 months until fully vested 1 year from the grant date. Outstanding equity awards at fiscal 24 year end. Following table provides information for the NEOs regarding outstanding equity awards held as of February 1st, 2025. In accordance with the SEC rules, the year-end values in the table for the market values of shares that have not vested have been calculated based on the $26.90 per share closing price of common stock on January 31st, 2025. Restricted stock units outstanding. Okay. Mr. Moore's October 1st, 2021 award and Mr. Robinson's July 1st, 2021 award vest in 6 tranches over 4 years, 5% after the first 12 months, 15% after 24 months, and 20% every subsequent 6 months until fully vested 4 years from the grant date. Mr. Moore's October 1st, 2022 award vests in 6 equal tranches every 6 months until fully vested 3 years from the grant date. Mr. Moore and Mr. Robinson's July 1st, 2024 awards each vest in 4 equal tranches every 3 months until fully vested 1 year from the grant date. Mr. Moore's July 1st, 2024 award vests in 12 equal tranches every 3 months until fully vested 3 years from the grant date. Mr. Robinson's July 1st, 2022 awards vest in 6 tranches over 3 years, 16% after the first 3 months, 16% after 9 months, and 17% every subsequent 6 months until fully vested 3 years from the grant date. Stock vested and option exercises. The value realized on vesting was our closing stock price on the vesting date multiplied by the number of shares vested. All amounts are shown prior to the surrender of shares to cover withholding taxes in connection with the vesting of shares. These shares were acquired as the result of acceleration pursuant to the separation agreement detailed in the offer letters and potential payments upon termination or change in control. Offer letters and potential payments upon termination or change in control. We have issued offer letters or continuing employment letters to our NEOs other than Mr. Cohen, detailing the terms of each NEO's employment. See offer letters and severance change and control benefits above for a description of the terms of these offer letters. Hypothetical estimates of the amounts that would be owed to the NEOs upon termination of their employment or upon a change in control are presented in the table directly below. In accordance with the rules of the SEC, the hypothetical estimates have been computed on the assumption that the termination or change of control occurred on February 1st, 2025, the last day of our most recently completed fiscal year. The employment of Mr. Patel terminated prior February 1st, 2025, and we have there excluded him from the table. We've described below the heading Actual Executive Separations the actual amounts received by Mr. Patel upon cessation of his employment. Looks like this only affects Mark. Pursuant to the terms of his offer letter, Mr. Robinson will receive an amount equal to 6 months of his base salary if terminated without cause. Pursuant to the terms of Mr. Robinson's offer letter, the bonus severance elements reflect the amount of unpaid new hire bonuses that is potentially subject to acceleration upon termination. Pursuant to the terms of his offer letter, in the event of termination without cause, Mr. Robinson is eligible for COBRA continuation coverage for him and his eligible dependents for 6 months. The amount in the table above reflects the estimated value of medical coverage for Mr. Robinson, assuming he uses the maximum 18-month COBRA period. The value of potential accelerated restricted stock was calculated based on the closing stock price of $26.90 on January 31st, 2025, last trading day of fiscal 24. Pursuant to the terms of Mr. Robinson's offer letter, any portion of the initial equity award, if any, that was otherwise scheduled to vest in the ordinary course during the 6-month period, immediately following his termination date will become vested. Actual executive separations. Mr. Patel ceased employment at the company on April 4th, 2024, and was entitled to the severance payments and benefits provided for in the separation agreement. The actual amounts received by Mr. Patel are summarized below. Stock values indicated below were calculated based on the closing price of our common stock at the time of vesting. Mr. Patel executed a general release of claims against the company and its affiliates as a condition of receiving these payments and benefits. Damn, he got paid out a milli? A milli? Mostly in restricted stock. Flex 10 weeks of Mr. Patel's base salary that was paid to him in accordance with the terms of separation. The amount shown in the table reflects 30% of the remaining portion of Mr. Patel's new hire bonus that was accelerated in accordance with the terms of the separation agreement. 3 reflects an amount equal to the applicable premiums for COBRA continuation coverage for 2 months that was paid to Mr. Patel pursuant to the separation agreement. 4, the amount shown in the table represents the value of 94,648 shares of time-vested restricted stock that vested on an accelerated basis in accordance with the term of the separation agreement based on the closing price of our common stock on April 18th, 2024. CEO pay ratios. As required by Dodd-Frank, Wall Street Reform, and Consumer Protection Act of 2010, we are disclosing the ratio of the total annual compensation of our Chief Executive Officer to that of our median employee. We identified the median employed among all of our employees as of February 1st, 2025. We're a global retail company with approximately 6,500 full-time salaried and hourly employees and between 11,000 and 17,000 part-time hourly employees worldwide. Depending on the time of year, as discussed above, Mr. Cohen has declined all forms of compensation except for the incremental cost to the company of providing Mr. Cohen executive security services in accordance with independently assessed executive security program established by our board. Therefore, his total annualized compensation as of the determination date was $268,553. For fiscal 2024, our median employee is a part-time hourly employee in one of our U.S. stores who worked an average of 22 hours per week. The annual compensation of a median employee was $14,726 for fiscal 24. Based on this information, the ratio of fiscal 24 annual total compensation of our Chief Executive Officer to that of our median employee was approximately 18-1. That's crazy. That's crazy. In order to identify the median employee in terms of compensation across our global populations of employees, we utilize total annual earnings from the 2024 calendar year, which include but are not limited to salary, hourly wages, overtime, bonus, and commissions. We use W-2 earnings for the U.S. employee population and the W-2 equivalent earnings for the international employee population. We annualize the compensation for permanent associates who joined the company as of January 1st, 2024. Full-time equivalency adjustments were not performed for part-time associates. We believe our CEO pay ratio is a reasonable estimate calculated in a manner consistent with the SEC pay ratio rules and methods for disclosure. The SEC rules do not specify a single methodology in identifying the median employee and in calculating that person's annual compensation. Accordingly, the pay ratio reported by other companies may not be comparable to the company's pay ratio disclosed above. Oh, we're almost to the end. We're almost there. The market closes in 10 minutes. I'm leaving after I read this. Pay versus performance. The following table provides information for the fiscal years 2020 and through 2024 with respect to the compensation as calculated under SEC rules of our principal executive officers, which include both our current and former CEOs, the average compensation of our other NEOs, and certain performance measures specified under SEC rules. Damn. Sherman got paid $500 million. No wonder the company was shit when fucking Sherman was there. That's insane, dude. That is so much compensation. Like the highest one on here is Furlong, 16.8 million in 2020. That's not even compensation actually paid. Like what the fuck, dude? Sherman was bleeding this fucking thing, bro. That's crazy. That's insane. Looks like he paid some of it back in 2021, but still, that's even 300 million is insane. All right, we're almost done here. Almost done here. All right, for fiscal 2024, our PEO was our current CEO, Ryan Cohen. For fiscal 2023, our PEOs included Ryan Cohen, former PEO Mark Robinson, and former CEO Matthew Furlong. For fiscal 2022, our PEO was Matthew Furlong. For fiscal 2021, our PEOs included both Matthew Furlong and former CEO George Sherman. For fiscal 2022, our PEO was George Sherman. In calculating the compensation actually paid or CAP amounts reflected in these columns, the fair value or change in fair value as applicable of the equity awards adjustment included in such calculations were computed in accordance with the FASB ASC Topic 718. Time vested restricted stock unit grants date fair values are calculated using the closing stock price as of date of the grant. Adjustments have been made using the stock price as of fiscal year end and as of each date of vest. Performance vested restricted stock fair values are valued at 0 at each respective measurement date, given all outstanding performance vested restricted stock were accrued at and is estimated to be earned below threshold. As of each respective measurement date, the assumptions used to calculate the fair value for purposes of determining the compensation actually paid are consistent with the methodology used for calculating the grant date fair value for financial reporting purposes. Return fiscal calculated based on fixed income, $100. All right, I'm not reading that. I don't really understand this. Holy shit, dude. There's still more. Get me out of here. I'm so sick of reading this. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Measures that company used to tie cap. Pay versus performance narrative disclosure. Our overall cap tracked very closely with our stock price, which has primarily driven the fluctuation in our cap values as shown above. Cap to George Sherman and our non-PEO NEOs in fiscal 2020 was significantly higher than the summary compensation table, total due to the high volatility in our stock price at the end of fiscal 22. Okay, that makes more sense. In fiscal 2021 and 2022, cap to both of our PEOs and our non-PEOs NEOs was lower than the SCT total and lower than the respective cap values in fiscal 2020 due to our less volatile stock price performance over these fiscal years since the end of fiscal 2020. In fiscal 2023, tracking with our stock price, cap to Matthew Furlong and to our non-PEO NEOs was lower than the SCT total, while Mark Robinson served as PEO from June 7, 2023 to September 28, 2023. His cap was generally aligned with other non-PEOs, NEOs in fiscal 2023. In fiscal 2023 and 2024, for Ryan Cohen, SCT and cap are equal, given Ryan Cohen does not receive any compensation from the company, apart from the $269,000 Cohen received in fiscal 2024 as a reimbursement for security services. While cap to our non-PEO NEOs in fiscal 2024 was lower than the SCT mainly due to one non-PEO NEO forfeiting equity upon leaving the company. Otherwise, cap would have been greater than the SCT values due to our stock price performance in fiscal 24. The increase in our stock price that contributed significantly to the cap in fiscal 2020 also drove our total shareholder return through the end of fiscal 2024. Our TSR has significantly outperformed our peer group TSR during this period, as shown in the table above. Specifically, our TSR performed significantly better than our peer group TSR through the end of fiscal 2020. After a meaningful increase in fiscal 2020, our TSR performance was negative in fiscal 21, 22, and 23, before increasing again in fiscal 24. Over the full 5-year period, both of our TSR and peer group TSR was positive, and our TSR performance meaningfully outperformed our peer group total. The close relationship between TSR and cap was evident across the fiscal years in the table above. Our cap at the end of fiscal 2020 significantly increased as a direct result of our strong TSR through the end of fiscal 2020. Through fiscal 2021, our TSR decreased, although still greater than the initial fixed $100 investment, and the cap to our NEOs significantly declined year over year, except for Matthew Furlong, who joined the company in fiscal 2021, and declined relative to fiscal 2021 SCT totals. In fiscal 2022, our TSR decreased slightly, which led to our cap values declining relative to fiscal 2022 SCT totals, although cap remained positive given the year-over-year TSR decline through fiscal 2022 was not significant. Through fiscal 2023, our TSR decreased, and as a result, cap values to Matthew Furlong and non-PEO NEO cap declined relative to fiscal 2023 SCT totals. As of the end of fiscal 2024, our cap for non-PEO NEOs was once again lower than fiscal 2024 SCT totals, despite TSR increasing mainly due to one non-PEO NEO forfeiting equity upon leaving the company. Our net income loss was not strongly correlated with cap, given a large portion of our executive compensation program is granted in equity, thereby directly tied to our stock performance. In fiscal 2020, our net income was negative $215 million and the cap values. Well, assuming the parentheses mean negative, usually they do. To our NEOs were the highest of our values to our NEOs were the highest over the full 5-year period. In fiscal 2021, our net income decreased to $381 million, which was also aligned with a decrease in cap over this period. In fiscal 2022, our net income increased to negative $313 million, aligning with the increase in cap over this period. In fiscal 2023 and 24, our significant growth in net income to 7 million and 131 million respectively was not correlated with cap to our NEOs given cap values decreased over the period. For fiscal years 2020 through 2023, we did not have a company selected measure because the company did not use any financial performance measures to link fiscal years 2020 through 2023 executive compensation to the company performance. In fiscal 2024, given we used United States operating profit, excluding royalties, as performance criteria in our short-term equity incentive program, we've included this measure as our company selected measure. Similar to net income, our U.S. operating profit, excluding royalties, was not strongly correlated with cap. In fiscal 2024, our United States operating profit, excluding royalties, was 24 million, an increase from negative 65 million in fiscal 23. This significant growth was not correlated with cap to our NEOs, given cap values decreased over the period. Equity grant practices. The company does not currently grant stock option awards or stock appreciation right awards. During the last completed fiscal year, the company did not make any stock option awards to our executive officers within the 4 business day period before or the 1 business day period after the filing of any 10K, 10Q, or 8K containing material non-public information. Compensation Committee does not coordinate the timing of option grants with the release of material non-public information. Equity awards are typically granted on predetermined meeting dates of the Compensation Committee and are subject to the company's insider trading policy, which prohibits trading and awards when material non-public information is known to the participant or the company. All awards are granted with an exercise price equal to the average closing market price for the previous 30 trading days prior to the date of the grant. The company does not time the public disclosure of material non-public information to affect executive compensation outcomes. This is ridiculous. It never ends. Securities authorized for issuance under equity compensation plans. Number of securities remaining available for future issuance under equity compensation plans, 31.7 million. Okay. So they can activate this at any time, I guess. Something like that. All right. No, did the market close? I didn't even notice. It's like 27.48 or something like that. She's got a crush on the handyman. Oh, that'd be funny. Proposal 3, ratification of appointment of independent registered public accounting firm. The audit committee has selected KPMG as the company's independent registered public accounting firm to audit the company's consolidated financial statements as of and for the year end January 31st, 2026, fiscal 25, and the company's internal control over financing reporting as of January 31st, 2026. Although the audit committee is sole authority to appoint the independent registered public accounting firm, as a matter of good corporate governance, we are submitting our selection of KPMG for ratification by the stockholders at the annual meeting. If the stockholders do not ratify the appointment of KPMG, the audit committee will reconsider the appointment. A representative of KPMG is expected to be present at the annual meeting, will have the opportunity to make a statement, and is expected to be available to respond to appropriate questions. Prior to the appointment of KPMG, Deloitte and Touche LLP served as our independent registered public accounting firm. For additional information, see change in independent registered accounting firm. We do not expect that representative of Deloitte will be present at the annual meeting. The board considers KPMG to be a well-qualified and unanimously recommends that stockholders vote for the ratification of the audit committee's appointment of KPMG as our independent registered public accounting firm for fiscal 25. Proxy solicited by this proxy statement will be voted for this proposal unless a vote against the proposal or abstention is specifically indicated. change in independent registered public accounting firm. On December 6, 2024, after completing a competitive proposal process, the audit committee selected KPMG as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for fiscal 2025. This process also resulted in the effective dismissal of Deloitte as the company's independent registered public accounting firm. Deloitte's dismissal took effect following the completion of its audit and the issuance of its report on the company's consolidated financial statements and internal control over financial reporting for the company's fiscal year ending February 1st, 2025, which was included in the company's annual report on Form 10-K, March 25th, 2025. Deloitte's reports on the company's consolidated financial statement as of and for the fiscal years ended January 28th, 2023, February 3rd, 2024, and February 1st, 2025 did not contain any adverse opinion or disclaimer of opinion, nor were they qualified or modified as to uncertainty, audit, scope, or accounting principles. During the fiscal years ended January 28, 2023, February 3rd, 2024, and February 1st, 2025, there were no disagreements within the meaning of Item 304A1IV of Regulations SK and the related instructions between the company and Deloitte on any matters of accounting principles or practices, financial statement disclosures, or auditing scope or procedure which, if not resolved to Deloitte's satisfaction, would have caused Deloitte to make reference thereto in their reports, and no reportable events within the meaning of items 304A1V. The company requested that Deloitte furnish a letter addressed to the SEC stating whether or not it agrees with the above statements. A copy of Deloitte's letter dated December 10th, 2024 is filed as Exhibit 16.1 to our Form 8K filed with the SEC on December 10th, 2024. During the fiscal years ended January 28th, 2023, February 3rd, 2024, and February 1st, 2025, neither the company nor anyone on its behalf has consulted with KPMG regarding the application of accounting principles to a specific transaction, either completed or proposed, or the type of audit opinion that might be rendered on the company's financial statements. And neither a written report nor oral advice was provided to the company that KPMG concluded was an important factor considered by the company in reaching a decision as to any accounting, auditing, or financial reporting issue. Any matter that was subject of disagreement within the meaning of Item 304A1IV, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We there yet. Gotta be so close. God. So close, yet so far. Alright, as described more fully in ratification of appointment of independent registered public accounting firm Proposal 3 above, the audit committee has selected KPMG as the company's independent registered public accounting firm for fiscal 2025, effectively dismissing Deloitte as the company's independent registered public accounting firm, which had served the company's independent registered public accounting firm since 2013. Independent registered public accounting firm examines the annual financial statements and provides other permissible non-audit and tax-related services for us. Management and Audit Committee have considered the non-audit services provided by KPMG and Deloitte and concluded they are compatible with maintaining the independence of those firms in their audit of the company in accordance with the SEC rules. Okay. Audit fees for services rendered by Deloitte in fiscal 2024 and 23 include professional services for the audit of our annual financial statements and financial statement schedules, for the audit of our effectiveness of internal control over financial reporting, for reviews of our financial statements included in our quarterly reports on Form 10-Q filed with the SEC, for professional services provided in connection with statutory and regulatory filings, and for other consultation concerning financial accounting and reporting standards. Audit-related fees for service rendered consist of assurance and related services reasonably related to our financial statement. No such fees were charged in fiscal 23 and 24. Tax fees for services rendered by Deloitte in fiscal 24 and 23 included professional services for domestic and international tax compliance and tax planning and advice. Fees for fiscal 23 include consultations involving tax considerations related to our NFT marketplace. Pre-approval policies and procedures. The Audit Committee charter requires that, among other things, the Audit Committee pre-approved the rendering by our independent registered public accounting firm of all audit and permissible non-audit services. Accordingly, the Audit Committee considers and pre-approves any such audit and permissible non-audit services on a case-by-case basis, or through the adoption of pre-approval policies and procedures. The Audit Committee approved all of the other services provided by Deloitte referred to above. Audit Committee matters, primary responsibilities, and fiscal 24 actions. The Audit Committee assists the board in fulfilling its oversight responsibilities and reviews the adequacy and integrity of our financial statements, financial reporting process, and internal system of accounting controls. The appointment, termination, compensation, retention, and oversight of the independent registered public accountants. The scope of the audit performed by the independent registered public accounting firm of our books and records. The internal audit function and plan. Our compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, our code of business conduct and ethics, and with management and the independent auditor, any related party transactions and approve such transactions. For fiscal 24 and fulfillment of its responsibilities, among other things, the Audit Committee met with senior members of our financial management team at each regularly scheduled meeting, held private sessions during its regularly scheduled meetings with senior members of our financial management team, with the independent auditors, with representatives of internal audit, and on its own, at which candid discussions regarding financial management, accounting, auditing, and internal control issues took place. Received periodic updates on management's process to assess the adequacy of our system of internal control over financial reporting, and management's conclusion on the effectiveness of our internal control over financial reporting. Discussed with the independent auditors our internal control assessment process, management's assessment with respect thereto, and the independent author's evaluation of our system of internal controls over financial reporting. Discuss with senior members of our financial management team and the independent auditors matters associated with accounting principles, critical accounting policies, and significant accounting judgments and estimates. Reviewed and discussed with management our earnings releases and quarterly and annual reports on Form 10Q and Form 10K prior to filing with the SEC. Reviewed our internal audit plan and the performance of our internal audit function. Reviewed with senior members of our financial management team, the independent auditors, and representatives of internal audit the overall scope and plans for their respective audits. The results of internal and external audits, evaluations by management and the independent auditors of our internal controls over financial reporting and the quality of our financial reporting. Oh, save me! Save me from all this reading, bro. This shit sucks ass. Who the hell reads this shit? Who the hell reads this shit, man? You gotta be like an actual psychopath to be reading this. Like a legitimate psychopath. Alright. Reviewed with senior internal audit and performance. Alright, reviewed with senior members of our financial management team, independent auditors, representatives of internal audit, the overall scope, and I already read that. Discussed with our legal and regulatory matters that may have a material impact on our financial statements and compliant policies and programs. Discussed with management guidelines and policies governing the process by which our senior management and our relevant departments, including the internal auditing department, identify, assess, and manage our exposure to risk as well as our major financial risk exposures and the steps management has taken to monitor and control such exposures. Participated with representatives of management and the other independent auditors, in addition, discussions as requested by the audit committee in other areas of operations. Okay. Report of the audit committee. Roles and responsibilities. God, I really don't want to read it anymore. We're so close, though. Might as well just finish, right? I really don't want to, but we might as well. I lost my place, though. Report of the Audit Committee, roles and responsibilities. The role of the Audit Committee is to assist the board in its oversights of our financial reporting process. Management has the primary responsibility for the financial statements and the reporting process, including the system of internal controls over financial reporting. Our independent registered public accounting firm is responsible for auditing our financial statements and its internal control over financial reporting in accordance with the standards of the PCAOB, and expressing opinions as to the conformity of the financial statements with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States and the effectiveness of internal controls over financial reporting. The Audit Committee is responsible for the appointment, compensation, and oversight of the work of our independent registered public accounting firm. I'm just going to skip that part. I don't even think this matters. Committee recommends includes the financial statements in the annual report. Based on reviews and discussions referred to the above, audit committee recommended to the board and the board approved that our audited consolidated financial statements be included in our 24 annual report to stockholders and in our annual report on Form 10-K for our fiscal year ended February 1st, 2025. Delinquent Section 16A. Section 16A of the Exchange Act requires our executive officers and directors and persons who own more than 10% of registered class of our equity securities to file initial statements of beneficial ownership and statements of changes in beneficial ownership. Forms 4 and 5 of common stock of the company with the SEC. Executive officers, directors, and greater than 10% stockholders are required to furnish us with copies of all such forms they file. Based solely on our review of the copies of such forms received by us, our written representations from certain reporting persons that no additional forms were required, we believe that all filing requirements applicable to our executive officers, directors, and greater than 10% stockholders were complied with the fiscal year ended February 1st, 2025, except that due to the administrative errors, a Form 3 was not filed within the required period for the appointment to the board for Director Nat Turner, filed on December 5th, 2024, and a Form 4 was not filed within the required period for one transaction for Daniel Moore, our principal financial and accounting officer, reporting the sale of shares filed on October 10th, 2024. All right. Certain relationships and related transactions. Oh, this is not informative at all. There's no useful information here. Really. The audit committee chartered requires the audit committee to review with management and the independent registered public accountants and approve all transactions and courses of dealing with parties related to us. This obligation of the audit committee is described earlier in this proxy statement in the election of directors section, which states that the audit committee is responsible for reviewing and approving related party transactions. Also, as described earlier in this proxy statement in the election of directors section, company has adopted a code of ethics for senior financial and executive officers and a code of standards, ethics, and conduct applicable to the company's management level employees. The codes require that all of our employees and directors avoid conflicts of interest, defined as situations where the person's private interests interfere in any way, or even appear to interfere with our interests as a whole. In addition, at least annually, each director and executive officer completes a detailed questionnaire that inquires about any business relationship that may give rise to a conflict of interest and all transactions in which we are involved in, and all transactions in which we are involved and in which the executive officer, a director, or a related person has a direct or indirect material interest. It is our policy that any potential conflict of interest transaction with an executive officer or director, or any transaction that triggers disclosure under Item 404A of Regulation S-K, as a result of these inquiries is required to be reviewed and approved or ratified by the Audit Committee. Except as described below, during fiscal 2024, there were no transactions requiring disclosure with or with an immediate family member of directors, NEOs, or persons who were the beneficial owner of more than 5% of our outstanding shares during the fiscal year. In November 2024, the company entered in a collaboration with collectors through PSA, where the company would become an authorized PSA dealer, and PSA would provide authentication and grading services for trading cards through select company stores across the United States. Mr. Turner, a director of the company, is the chief executive officer and chairman of collectors. Mr. Turner also owns up to 10% equity interest in PSA and has been awarded additional unvested equity compensation awards at collectors, which are subject to forfeiture if certain performance conditions are not satisfied. During fiscal 2024, the approximate dollar value of the transaction between GameStop and PSA pursuant to the collaboration agreement was $9.8 million. In accordance with the company's policy, the Audit Committee reviewed and provided prior approval of such transaction and determined that such transaction was in the best interest of the company and its stockholders. Other matters. We do not intend to present any other business for action at the annual meeting and do not know of any other business intended to be presented by others. If any matters other than the matters described in the notice of the annual meeting of stockholders and this proxy statement should be presented for stockholder action at the annual meeting, it is the intention of the persons designated in the proxy to vote thereon in accordance with their best judgment. Financial and other information. We're furnishing our annual report for the fiscal year ended February 1st, 2025, including consolidated financial statements together with this proxy statement. Cautionary statement regarding forward-looking statements. We don't need to read that. Proposals pursuant to Rule 14A-8. Proposals of stockholders pursuant to Rule 14A-8 of Exchange Act intended to be presented for inclusion in our proxy materials for the annual meeting of stockholders to be held in 2026 must meet the requirements under Rule 14A-8 and be received by the Secretary at GameStop Corp. However, the date of the 2026 annual meeting is more than 30 days before or after June 12, 2026. Then the deadline for submitting any stockholder proposal for inclusion in the proxy materials relating to such annual meetings will be a reasonable time before we begin to print and mail such proxy materials. I think this is just talking about the frickin' thing. So I'm not going to read the rest of this. And there's your little voting card. Holy shit. We just read all that, dude. What the hell? That was like a lot. That was a lot. I mean, it was only 43 pages, but that was quite a bit. Crazy thing is, that's not even the last document. There's still more. Oh, this is just the proxy thing at the end. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that. And what's this? Is this just a PDF of it? Oh, it's just a PDF of the annual report, I think. Looks like. Yeah, I think this is just a PDF of the annual report. So we've already looked through this before. At least I'm pretty sure. Michael Rollins, what's up? What's up, dude? What's up? Haven't seen that name in here before. Maybe I have. I just don't remember if I have. Yeah, this is just a PDF of the 10K, I believe. So we don't need to read that. So yeah, that's that. Holy, it's Friday too, huh? So I was gonna say we're gonna read Project Rocket tomorrow, but it's Friday, so I guess we're gonna read it on Monday. Cause I do wanna. I haven't read through Project Rocket yet, and I like skimmed through it, and there's a couple interesting things that I read. So I do want to read the whole thing, or most of it. All right. I'm out of here. Thank you guys for supporting the stream as always. God bless you, especially if you listen to that whole thing. That was that was probably really boring because that was a lot of reading. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for supporting the stream. I'll catch you guys on Monday. You have a good rest of your, or not rest of your weekend, but you have a good weekend. God bless you. Again, thanks for supporting the stream. And I don't really know what else to say. So I'll catch you guys on Monday. Peace out, Kristen, Muma, Matt Romano, whoever else is here. I don't know who else is here. Moose, maybe. I don't know who else is here. I don't know, but I appreciate you guys. Peace!